Unmute myself. There he is. What up? What up? Shout out to everybody in the room on your Wednesday. You rocking with Mike Check 1212. Thumbs up in the chat. Shout out to Bobby S talking about he requested to leave work early. Well, I'm here, brother. Saying you guys are late. No. We here. It was already here. I mean, shit. What is it? 6:09. We here. So a whole lot to talk about today. We actually got a lot of new music coming up, man. Ghostface is dropping Friday. Y'all know I'm a huge Ghostface fan. So we're going to talk some Wu-Tang today. We're going to talk Wu-Tang solo albums. I know we're going to talk about Wu-Tang as a collective. We're going to talk about the record with Ghostface and Nas that dropped, what was it, last week or the week before last? We're going to talk about that. We are going to talk about also, Gunna got new music on the way as well. And Conway the Machine actually released his track list of the album that he's dropping Friday as well. So hip hop is heated up, man. There's a lot of things, and I know everybody is. Yes, Gunna's dropping too. I got you, OG Weston. Gunna's dropping too. I know a lot of people are probably burnt out with the whole Drake and Kendrick Lamar conversation, I'm sure. So it's going to be refreshing to have some new music to look forward to on Friday, and have more music going on as opposed to just, these two individuals who put on a great display. But, we're still going to have to talk a little bit about it because, I mean, some people are still reacting to it. One of the things that I saw, and we got Ron in the room too, one of the things I saw was Questlove's response to everything that's going on. And I want to read this for the people real fast, and I want to quickly react to this and also react to some of the things that you guys were talking about from last episode and some of my takes. But first off, let me read what Questlove posted on his Instagram. It said, "Nobody won the war. This wasn't about skill. This was a wrestling match, level, mudslinging, and takedown by any means necessary. Women and children, in parentheses, and actual facts, be damned. Same audience wanting blood will soon put RIP posts like they weren't part of the problem. Hip hop is truly dead." Now. First of all, I don't think that, and I know there were reports, serious news reports about what happened at Drake's house yesterday. And I know the media, mainstream media, being who they are, they had to mention that, Drake had been sparring with Kendrick Lamar, which has been on wax in relation to whatever happened. In my personal opinion, I don't think any of the stuff is related. I think all of this between these two individuals has been on wax, right? So I don't like the media even going there. It really gives me vibes of Vibe magazine. See what I did back in the day with the East Coast, West Coast thing. And I think it's irresponsible journalism to even come from that front, first of all. But Questlove is somebody who's been a pillar in hip hop for decades and a historian to a certain degree. Every documentary you see of hip hop, Questlove has made his presence known and his knowledge known. I remember reading an article back in the day where Questlove basically said the 95 Source Awards is where he saw Illmatic Nas change from Illmatic Nas to Escobar Nas. And the reason being is because Biggie won all those awards at the 95 Source Awards while Nas was sitting there with Wu-Tang thinking that he was going to get decorated from the most prestigious hip-hop publication of its time. I used to really listen to Questlove's takes in those ways. Going back to this, though, for him to be such a historian, him to be speaking about the battle aspect of hip-hop and based on how these guys handled it, I would like for him to expound upon what parts he disagrees with so much, because you were playing drums at Jay-Z's Unplugged when he did Takeover. Niggas that kidnap your lady, spit at your baby. You're okay with that. You're okay with playing drums to that. I think what it appears is it's kind of like, with your parents. It's like, do what I say and not as I do. And I think in hip hop, we've seen elder statesmen get to a certain point in life and in their careers, because their careers have something to do with it as well. And they forget about everything that they did and that they were a part of. and they find any way to say that this new generation or these next generation of guys aren't doing it right. I think that's just sounding like the old person in the room. What I would like to hear from some of our elder statesmen is, you know what? I disagree with those things back then, or I agree with those things back then, and I wish I could go back and tell my younger self this, but they never acknowledged the things that they were a part of. And these are the reasons why the the new guys, or I want to say the young guys, but Drake and Kendrick aren't super young, but the next generation looks at you like, really, dude? I see that all the time with Charles Barkley. I love Charles Barkley as a player, incredible player, one of the most incredible talents I've seen growing up. But when he goes out there and criticizes players for work ethic, character, and things of that nature, it's like, really, Charles? Like, you did spit on a little girl when you were trying to spit on a reporter. Like, come on, man. Like, sometimes we have to acknowledge those things, or it comes across as just straight up hating, man. Because at the end of the day, man, to say that hip hop is dead because you feel like these guys really took some of their information, I'll say, and fabricated it, I don't understand that. We've done that in every single battle. Are we going to sit here and say that what KRS-One did wasn't hip hop? Because KRS-One went into the room with Mr. Magic and Wally Mall, and they didn't like his stuff. This is the story goes, right? And his response to that was to ride on the whole bridge, and he won. Is that not hip hop? We call that the definition of hip hop. So I'm gonna have to see where this battle in some ways goes against the quote unquote rules and parameters of hip hop culture, to the point where someone would even say that it's dead. If you don't like it, you just don't like it. That doesn't mean it's not hip hop, and that doesn't mean that hip hop is dead because you don't like what's going on. Mad Max in the super chat says, Mad Max, he says, laughing my ass off. I never want to hear about Joker and Luca again. Yo, shout out to New York, man. Quest Hate. Yeah. Quest Hate. Shout out to Mad Max up there in New York, man. Y'all got a big game going on tonight, so we're not going to be on here too long. We want y'all to be able to watch y'all Knicks go out there and possibly win another playoff game. I think y'all got a chance. But Luca has to step up. And Joker, man, Joker's just outmanned over there in Minnesota, man, or in Denver. But he's going to Minnesota, and he's going to have to deal with this Edwards guy, man. And Anthony Edwards is a monster. He's from the A2. Shout out to him. Or he's from Georgia. But anyway, I just want to say that, man. And I think that sometimes, and even doing this show, before I did this show, or before I start really going heavy into hip-hop journalism, you do kind of gravitate to your era of hip-hop, and anything that other guys are doing, you want to have something critical to say about it. But then you got to look back, and it's like, how different is what's going on now than when I was coming up? Like, Ether and Takeover are vicious diss records. That's why we hold them so high. That's why they raised the bar in that aspect. And I don't know if people want wholesome battles or whatever, but yeah, Kendrick took it far. Drake took it far. My only issue is, if we want to talk about taking it far, is the fact that Drake has a pattern now of taking it far first, and then when somebody takes it a little further, then he steps back and says, man, you hit me a little too below the belt. And I think that at that point, no, you don't. You just keep escalating it. Unfortunately, that's what a rap battle is. I don't know how clean of a fight people are looking for, but that's when I don't even want to say mediation. These guys don't need mediation. It's not even going to that level. I think we're responsible enough as a culture right now to learn from the mistakes of the past. And we know that this isn't going to any street level. We know that this is staying on an artistic, on wax level. And I think anybody bringing those other elements in it, I'm not saying you're an agent, but you sound like one. You're the only people bringing that type of talk into it is the people who claim to be mediating the situation. There's no mediation to have. This is on wax. This era of hip hop listeners don't even know what that stuff y'all talking about looks like. You know what I mean? Mad Max of the super chat says, Mike, no one went to these levels of slander though. Okay. Mad Max also says these type of allegations need proof. You can't make this type of stuff up. I think that's fair to say, but that doesn't seem like anybody's. If people want to say that, then they need to say that outright. I think that people are criticizing the whole back and forth and want to pick and choose different parts that they have a problem with. Questlove has a problem with, and I'm not going to put words in his mouth, but let's just say, for example, if Questlove has a problem with the pedophile part, just say that. You know what I'm saying? And don't be so vague in the way that you're addressing this. And to sit here and say hip hop is dead because of something that you're not even articulating, I think is a little irresponsible, man. That's just my personal opinion. And I also want to address the fact that, and before we move on to Ghost, people were saying that, my takes on J. Cole last episode were off. I think that there is an element where maybe J. Cole let these guys have it because he knew how personal this was going to get, and he bowed out. And I think that's an honorable thing to do. I'm not going to sit here and knock a man for choosing his peace other than, going to war. But the reality of the situation, guys, is when it comes down to talking about who's the greatest MC of this era, that choice he made is going to kind of make a very big conversation for anybody having that debate to keep him out of it. And I mean, again, we talk about this on the show all the time. It's about choices. Eminem chose to make the type of music that he made that got him those record sales. But in that choice, it's very hard for those records to be held up against some of the all-time greats. Same thing with Nicki. She chose to make pop music and really focus on that as far as her radio success. She got the benefits from those things, but also in turn, when you put those records up against Lil' Kim, it's very difficult. Mad Max with the super chat, and then we're going to move on. He says, well, I'll say it. They both went way too crazy, and Cole whack. You left Drake out to get jumped because Q told you Dot was digging you dirt. I'm sorry, because Q told you that Dot was digging up dirt. I agree. And my only question, and my question's been to Ron too, man. We were talking about this offline. I'm like, where's Wayne, man? Like, I think that if we want to talk about mediating and diffusing anything, I think that somebody is respected and connected and who has that relationship with Drake, somebody like Wayne could be able to diffuse a lot of these things. I think that Wayne could easily silence the whole Rick Ross thing. And, and I get it. Wayne is not obligated to do anything. But I do feel like in Wayne's career, Drake jumped in that Pusha T situation. It was more so directed at Wayne. And I mean, if anything, man, tell people to chill a little bit, and let Kendrick and Drake duke it out. That's all I'm saying. But yes, the great Ghostface Killah has an album coming up. It's called Set the Tone. The features on this album, do we got it on the screen? I want to get the features on this album. I know off the top of my head, we got Kanye West, or Ye. Sorry, I don't want to say Kanye West because he made a whole press release to the media to stop calling him that. We got Ye, Nas, Raekwon, AZ, Method Man, Jim Jones, Fat Joe, Busta Rhymes, Ja Rule, Sheik, Remy Ma, and Sarah Nee. Now, this looks like an all-star cast and who's who and some lyrical emceeing, man. I want to hear, of course, you always want to hear what Raekwon and Ghost cook up, but I want to see how many songs Raekwon's actually on. Ron, you on the line? Oh, I guess he's not. Busta Rhymes, Fat Joe, Ja Rule. Did he actually put out a track list yet? Because I've been waiting on the track list all day. I know you guys are on the internet and y'all, oh, here we go. There it is. We got track list on the screen. Let's get this up, man. Because I want to see what Ghostface is going to put together. And I want to see which records that I'm looking to gravitate to first. So we got 6 minutes with Jim Jones and Sheek Louch. I think that's a great combination there. Then we got Pair of Hammers with Method Man and Ghost. The way the Method Man's rapping right now, the level that he's on right now, I'm looking forward to hearing Ghost and Meth go back and forth. Put it back on the screen real quick. Mad Max with the super chat says, this was the industry's way of taking the king down so that they can promote someone new because he was owning too much equity. 6 niggas for Drake makes his legend crazy. I have Drizzy now next to 50 and Snoop. So that made you elevate Drake a little bit. That's interesting. Let's get this track list up because I'm trying to find it on my end. I think Ron must have found this joint on because it's not on his Instagram. Let me see where his track list is. Yeah, put it back on the screen. So we got Raekwon and October London on the record together. We got Nas on the record that we've already heard. We got Iceman on the record. No Face featuring Kanye West. Fat Joe is on Cape Fear. Champion Sound is Benton. We got AZ and BB on Lock In. Busta Rhymes is saying that. Listen, this is what's interesting about this album to me. I'm not used to Ghost having this many features. So I'm interested to hear how it's going to pan out. I think that the features are very interesting in itself. But me as a Ghostface fan, personally, I want to hear more Ghost. Now, based on the Nas and Ghost song that I've heard already or that we've all heard, I think it's kind of giving us a window into what the production's going to be like on this project. So if it's going to sound like this, I'm looking forward to hearing how everything is going to go. I think he's going to have some bangers on here. Again, I think in an era where we're looking for more so solo dolo work, me personally as a Ghost fan, and I could be wrong because we ain't heard the album yet, I would have loved to have seen, let's just say, Nas on the song. Boom. Ghost and Meth. That's cool. Maybe Ray and Ghost, and maybe Ghost and AZ or something, and then the rest just being Ghost. But we're going to have to see how this pans out. Ron, you on the line? Because I know we're about to talk these top 5 Wu-Tang joints, man, and top 5 Wu-Tang solo albums. Are you guys looking forward to the Ghostface album? Or are you looking more so towards that Conway, the Machine album? I want to know what the people are thinking in this chat, too. Thumbs up in the chat, guys. Yeah. Yeah, thumbs up in the chat, man. Yeah, I think the Ghost might have one with this, but we're just going to have to see. Now, as far as the top 5 Wu-Tang solo albums, Only Built for Cuban Links, number 1. I mean, I think you guys already know that. In my personal opinion, I think it's one of the greatest hip-hop albums of all time. It's a top 5 hip-hop album all time. The lyricism on there is just too tough. The anthems on there are too tough. Glaciers of Ice, Ice Water, Ice Cream, Guillotine. I mean, come on, man. Incarcerated Scarfaces. It's too much. It's too much. And I think that Only Built for Cuban Links is one of those special albums in a sense, like a Aquemini is. Everyone who came on that record showed their ass on that record. You get some of Method Man's best performances in that era on that record. You get Jizza going crazy on Guillotine. You get, Poisonous Paragraph, smash the phonograph in half and beat the Inspector Deck on a Warpath on that album. You Guy gives us one of his best verses on there. Master Killer on Glaciers of Ice. Insane. So to me, if we're talking about overall Wu-Tang stuff, and that's 36 Chambers included, I got Only Built for Cuban Links number 1. I think it's one of the best hip-hop albums ever. I think it's one of the best produced hip-hop albums ever. And it has an Incarcerated Scarfaces and an Ice Cream on it. Like, you don't get a better hip-hop album than that. in my personal opinion, the 5 albums that I would say are the 5 best hip hop albums I've ever heard, any one of them could be the greatest hip hop album of all time on any given day. And Only Built for Cuban Links is in that 5. Again, I'm gonna go Illmatic. No particular order. Illmatic, Only Built for Cuban Links. It Takes a Nation of Millions to Hold Us Back. Paid in Full and Kumara off the top of my head. And I'm sure I'm missing something, but those 5 albums could easily be the greatest hip hop album ever. I think The Chronic and Doggy Style are in that mix too. I think Doggy Style could, with the bangers that are on Doggy Style, man, if you want to put Doggy Style ahead of Kumara, I'm actually okay with that. But all of those albums have the same things in common. Incredible production, incredible lyricism from the star artist or the lead artist or artists on that project. And the people who were featured on all of those projects, Paid in Full ain't got no features, Rakim Somewhere Different, but they showed out. Like AZ on Illmatic. Like I said, the whole clan on Only Built for Cuban Links. The whole Dog Pound on Doggy Style. I mean, it's incredible, man. So yes, that's my number 1. Number 2 is Supreme Clientele. Supreme Clientele is so special in the sense that Ghostface is rapping on a whole nother page on Supreme Clientele. Mad Max with the super chat says, Purple Tape is one, Mike. It's definitely one. He says, I bumped that last week. Knowledge God, Ice Cream, etc. I was running that 5 times. Then Dot and Drake dropped, so I had to stop. But yes, man, we'll get back to Only Built for Cuban Links. I'm sure I'm not the only one that has something to say about that album. Yes, man, I got Supreme Clientele over Liquid Swords, and it's not an easy choice because both of them are very, very close. What RZA did in 1995 by producing Liquid Swords, Only Built for Cuban Links, and Into the 36, the dirty version, is one of the most, if not the most incredible feats of a hip-hop producer ever. That year in itself, with the addition of his other incredible works, but that year in itself put him in top 3, top 5, damn near forever. But Liquid Swords is definitely special in that way. But I'm going to go Supreme Clientele because these are the things Supreme Clientele had going against it. Supreme Clientele came, I won't say well after, but a good amount of time after people thought that the Wu-Tang run had tapered off. And Ghost wasn't really one of the headliners of the Wu-Tang at that point. I think he started turning the corner on Wu-Tang Forever, in my opinion. But when they dropped originally, Jizza was the lyricist, that was the star. Old Dirty was the other star. Raekwon was the standard of New York MCing, and RZA was the producer and the abbot of all of this, where Ghost was still kind of trying to find his footing. Iron Man, he did an incredible job, but in my personal opinion, Raekwon out-rapped Ghost on Iron Man, and that's saying a lot because Ghost is one of my favorites, if not my favorite MC any given day, you know what I'm saying, in a vacuum. But what Supreme Clientele did, it was Ghost's time to step out of that, or anybody in the Wu-Tang's ability to step out of what we know is like that Wu-Tang core sound, use outside producers, even though RZA was still the executive producer, and still have that Wu-Tang vibe, but did it in such a clean and taking Wu-Tang into the next generation. That's what I felt like Supreme Clientele did. And the way that Ghost was rapping on that album, man. And it's one of those great albums where he had features on it, but it didn't feel like he had a lot of help on it because he was still the marquee guy. I mean, he's on a record with Method Man, Redman, and Kappa on some Psycho Night Glow Velvet Pole special effects, high-tech armors, Mercury at the shows. Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious, dosisalaristic super. Cancun, catch me in the room eating grouper. And so people felt like at the time the Ghost wasn't really saying anything, just saying a lot of stuff and just throwing, paint on the canvas and calling it art. And maybe I'm just trying to be too analytical when I listen to my hip hop, but a lot of that stuff, if not everything on there, made sense to me. So musically, artistically, and just with just my ear test, Supreme Clientele is number 2. Liquid Swords, man. Liquid Swords, one of the greatest hip hop albums of all time. It's number 3. This is why Wu-Tang is held so high as a group. And when people talk about groups, Wu-Tang is the greatest group. And which, I've addressed this on the other show. I feel like Tribe has to get that nod as a collective, and we're not counting solo efforts. But when you count Wu-Tang's solo efforts, they've made so many classics as a group and solo combined. There's nobody who can compete with that. There's not a group in hip hop that can say, one of my members made Only Built for Cuban Links, one of my members made Supreme Clientele, one of my members made Liquid Swords, and as a group, we made Into the 36 Chambers. There's not a group in hip hop that can claim those things. Oh, and then, one of our other MCs made I'll Be There For You and Bring the Pain. There's not a group. Oh, and another member made Shimmy Shimmy Y'all in Brooklyn Zoo. There's not a group that could say that. So when you talk about those individual things, no one is touching Wu. But these albums are so great, and their top 5 solo works are so incredible that when we speak of Wu-Tang, we're speaking of something else. But Liquid Swords is number 3. I got Liquid Swords at number 3 because the GZA he took the lyricism that we all knew that he was capable of on the Wu-Tang efforts and turned it into a solo thing. And he showed why everybody hails him as the greatest lyricist in that group. He's very Rakim-esque on that album, lyric-wise, right? Approach-wise, like the depth of his lyricism. The production on that album, once again, RZA being brought to the forefront on that. The production on Liquid Swords is insane. Like I was listening to Fourth Chambers, man. That beat sound, I can't even tell you what that beat sounds like. Like, I guess because we've seen the video, and the video has them in the bunker like they're at war. I guess it sounds like that to me because I've seen the imagery that they put behind it. Ghostface's verse on there, Killer Priest on there, RZA on there. I mean, and GZA himself. And let's not get started on shadowboxing. Shadowboxing, in my opinion, is a top 3, possibly a top 2 RZA produced record. And Method Man's feature on Shadowboxing is one of the most overlooked features of all time. And I think because Method Man's in Wu-Tang, GZA's in Wu-Tang, we don't even look at that as a feature, but it is a feature. Method Man has 2 verses on a GZA record that's on a GZA album. James with the super chat says, Purple, Supreme, GZA's first. Are you talking about Words from the Genius? No. Iron Man and GZA's second album. You can't be talking about Words from the Genius. You gotta clarify there. You guys see me on the screen, or is it still the album over there? But anyway, Liquid Swords, man. Shadowboxing, that's where I was at. Shadowboxing, man. GZA's verse on Shadowboxing is incredible, man. I slayed them C's back in the rec room ever. My style broke motherfucking backs like him for terror. Most rap niggas came loud when I'm heard. Round them off to the nearest third. Like, he was rapping like that the whole album. And then you got Method Man doing what he does on that record. That's number 3. And that's one of those times where you just feel like, I want this Wu-Tang sound to continue forever. We didn't know how long we had when it came to that period. I'm glad they jumped into another chamber because you got to evolve your sound, but it was great to hear when we had it. All right, number 4. This might be controversial because to me, and maybe this is a personal pick, I got to go Old Dirty. And see, it's crazy. I got 3 albums from 95. I got to go Old Dirty's Return to the 36 Chambers. I think for the MC that Dirty is and was, we've heard those stories about how difficult it was to get him in the studio to record Me and Mariah, Go Back Like Babies and Pacifiers, Old Dirt Dog, No Liar. Like, it took a lot to get that verse out of him. RZA was able to get, and RZA and GZA, they were able to get a whole album out of this guy, and this album was excellent. You don't know? Brooklyn Zoo, Shimmy Shimmy. Like, the album to me is one of the most entertaining and crazy and wild rawhide albums that you're ever gonna hear in music, but in hip hop particularly. Now, I wrestle with this being ahead of Iron Man because Iron Man is such an excellent effort. And I think Iron Man, and I'm gonna get to Iron Man in a second because it's obviously my number 5. But to me, I felt like Old Dirty's album was more entertaining than Iron Man. Iron Man's more lyrical. Iron Man has Daytona 500. Iron Man has All That I Got Is You on it. But Return to the 36, that's some star power shit. And Old Dirty's whole legacy and whole legend is built on that effort, and that effort is so important. Shimmy Shimmy and Brooklyn Zoo is so important. Brooklyn Zoo is actually one of the strongest songs to ever come out of Wu-Tang as a solo shot. I would say the group stuff, obviously, that's them Voltron and the whole thing up. But I'm going to give it to Into the 36. Y'all might disagree with me on that one. I'm probably going to have to defend myself on next episode about it. But the next one, number 5, Iron Man. Iron Man's at 5 and not 4 because, again, like I said, I feel like Raekwon's appearance on Iron Man, who did an incredible job. Ghost did an incredible job, too. All That I Got Is You, Kame, Daytona 500. Incredible records. But I do feel like it was more of a collective, and I do feel like, Raekwon was kind of the star of many of those points on Iron Man. That doesn't take away from how incredible of an album Iron Man is. Now, I've heard Ghostface talk about how he wasn't in a great place when Iron Man was put together, and how, production-wise, he was kind of getting some leftover things from these other albums that I mentioned, which have affected, which did affect the way that Iron Man plays against those other 4. Yes, Tikal is dope. We're going to talk about Tikal. Black Jesus is crazy. I mean, listen, if these are your 5, Assassination Day is crazy too. If these are your 5, and these aren't even group efforts, this is why people say that Wu-Tang is the greatest. 36 over Tikal. Yes. Let's discuss that, because I think a lot of people really. Why do y'all think Tikal should be over Into the 36? Do you really think that Into the 36, that Tikal is better than the Dirty version? Let me say that because I know Into the 36, we're talking about a Wu-Tang album. But do you guys really think that Tikal is better than the Dirty version? Yeah, the rapping is better. It's Method Man at the peak of his talents. I think that I don't want to be too tough on Meth, because Meth is a big reason, if not one of the biggest reasons, that Wu-Tang became as crossover as they did. And Method Man, without his contributions to all of those albums that I mentioned, you got Rawhide, you got what he did on Ice Cream, what he did on what he did on Shadowboxing. It's like he's a big part of all of those efforts. I don't think that he got that level of contribution from everybody else on Tikal. I think that with Tikal, when you listen to it, you could tell it was the Clan's first shot. And we know that GZA had an album before, 36. I'm not talking about that. But once they were Wu-Tang, you could tell that Tikal was the first solo shot that the group had, because a lot of the holes that were in Tikal were definitely filled on the albums after it. And so Tikal not being in that top 5 is not a knock to Tikal or Method Man. It's just the fact that, we gotta attribute Wu-Tang's excellence to the fact that they continue to improve their model. They continue to level up in every area and what they were doing, whether it was production, whether it was saying, you know what, we need to put the Clan on this song, or, we need to put Ghost over here. We need to pair these guys together. Like, I would like to know how they actually put together Wu-Tang Forever and how they chose who was going to be on what record. Because it seems like Raekwon went out there and really asserted himself on Wu-Tang Forever and is on a lot of songs. Whereas some other people are on not on as many. Was it a situation where RZA as a producer was able to hear who may have fit on whatever beat? Or was it a situation where it's like, you know what? You write to everything. Whoever makes the cut, makes the cut. I mean, in my personal opinion, if I was producing Wu-Tang Forever and that was the assignment, or let's just say I'm RZA, and then you got Mathematics and you got who am I forgetting? Mathematics and other producers on the Wu-Tang. You know what I'm talking about, Ron.
True Master.
True Master. There we go. Sorry about that. Live shows did that. But anyway, if I'm the production team there, I would like the whole setup to be, you know what, we're going to have everybody rap to everything. And we're going to pick the best 3 or 4 verses in the song and then kind of parse it out like that. But I will say this, man, Raekwon's on a lot of records on Wu-Tang Forever. So I don't know if his pen was just going crazy at that time or if they just went to the guys and was like, what songs are you feeling, right to it? But Raekwon really asserted himself during that period. He really asserted himself on Iron Man. And in my personal opinion, it says a lot about Raekwon and Ghost that these guys have some of the best albums in Wu-Tang solo history, because to me, Only Built for Cuban Links is just as much Ghost's album as it is Raekwon. And just like Iron Man is just as much Raekwon's album as it is Ghost. And with that being said, Ghost has 3 albums in that top 5. And I mean, it just shows you how great an MC like him is. And to my personal opinion, I don't think Meth has that top 5 album when it comes to solo Wu-Tang albums. But I do think that from a talent standpoint and a talent perspective, Method Man is the most talented artist that the Wu-Tang has had, or talented MC. Let me say that. I think Method Man is the most talented MC in the Wu. I think that Ghost is the greatest MC in the Wu. And I think that GZA is the greatest lyricist in the Wu. That's kind of how I parse it. And all of those guys are represented in that 5. Method Man might not be represented with a solo, but his work on those 5 solo albums is highly regarded and highly documented.
Yo, Mike, I'm here, brother. Sorry about that. I had some technical difficulties, man. You hear me good?
No, you're good. I hear you great. Let me get to the super chats real quick, if you don't mind. James said Liquid Swords and Beneath the Surface, to clarify. He got Beneath the Surface as a top 5. That's interesting. Brian G with the super chat says, if Meth had the Only Built for Cuban Links beats in 95, it would have been the greatest rap album of all time. Ooh, I want to get to that, but get to your point real quick, Rob.
I'm surprised, man. I've known you for over 20 years 25 years, and you didn't mention this album, man. You didn't mention The Pillage. You
I love
forgot
the Pillage. I didn't
Slang
forget
Edit.
the Pillage.
You got Run. You got Slang Editorial. You got Super
I love
Ninjas.
No.
I mean, you got Dark
Listen, I got the
Throne.
Pillage at number 6.
You got Splash Splash. You got a lot of records, Mike. That didn't even come in your first opening
Super
monologue,
Ninjas.
bro.
Super
Ninjas. I mean, you got a lot of the Pillage is tough, man. Pillage could arguably be top 5. But I'm gonna let you. I rock with you on the Purple Tape. That's number 1 for me. I mean, you got my favorite song on Purple Tape, other than the ones that everyone names, Incarcerated Scarfaces. But Ice Water is crazy. Ice Water is one of the craziest records. I mean, RZA got down on that record. I go back and forth. Too. I go back and forth with Iron Man and Supreme Clientele as number 2. I mean, coming up, I listen to Iron Man more.
Yeah.
But you can make an argument that Supreme Clientele is number 2 because I like Nutmeg, I like Saturday Night, Apollo Kids is crazy, Ghost Dini is crazy. I mean, I think Ghost is in his prime on Supreme Clientele. I think Iron Man, he's still trying to formulate his sound coming off the Purple Tape. But Ghost is that guy when Supreme Clientele comes out. So I think it's tough, man. I can go 2A, 2B. I'm going to pick a position. I'm going to say, personally, I like Iron Man as number 2, but I can see conceptually as an artist for Ghost, Supreme Clientele is number 2. Number 3.
The first time I heard Supreme Clientele was actually in your car, if you remember this. You had the Green Grand Am and
the Green Grand Am joint. The Green Grand Am joint that burnt out. I had that car for 9 months. That joint, the engine blew up.
You didn't change the oil, and it just broke down, and the engine locked up.
It locked up.
Lesson for a youngster to learn.
But we had historic moments though, because we listened to Supreme Clientele in it, so that was perfect, bro.
But yeah, back to that. When you played, we didn't get too far. I think I heard 1, and I was like, oh no, I got to get this album. Like the way that Ghost was rapping on that album, like the elite level that he was at as an MC, it's some of the best, in my personal opinion, some of the best rapping I've ever heard. You know what I'm saying? Like it was some superhero rap. Like when how did he crash through, break the glass, tolling with the goalie mask? That's the pass. Heavy ice, rolly laying on the grass. Love the class, cauliflower hurting when I dump the trash, salad mask, the Wally Bass, Sunsplash autograph, blessing with your name, / backdraft, 4-pounder screaming with the pearly abs. And I'm like, yo, this nigga rapping crazy. Sun Twister as the style clashes. Mrs. Dad sprinkle with an icicle eyelash. Ass cap for Pendergrass with backstage passes. Special guest Noble Johnny Blaze, Johnny Mathis. Acrobat run up on that Love Jones actress. Distract the cat while I'm high shook and get a cracking bitch. I'm like, whoa. And nobody was rapping like that. Now, everybody went in there and gave their contributions to this album. But to me, Ghost just was head and shoulders above even the great MCs that were on that album. I know people always debate with me, say Redman got the better verse on Buck 50. But I don't think so, man. When you like Jordan jump dunk like Clyde Drexler, all up in the parrot, nose numb, really they come, Biggie's Versace, Snow White Rabbit. Hands is like photographic magic. Funeral love, move in when we hug, don't make it a habit. Hit the gym for 2 weeks, my back all chiseled. Elbows unique, now meet the new me. Like, instead of just saying this nigga been working out, this nigga said, hit the gym for 2 weeks, my back all chiseled. Elbows unique, now meet the new me. Like, I had never heard anybody approach rhymes in that way. And so to me, the way that Ghost was approaching shit on Supreme Clientele was a very special moment, especially for the year 2000. Because in the year 2000, let's be perfectly honest, like lyricism kind of dropped down a notch. Jay-Z wasn't rapping at the high level that he was rapping in the 90s. Stillmatic hadn't happened yet, so we could say the same thing for Nas, right? And it was like to hear Supreme Clientele, things got very commercial. It was very refreshing to hear. And this nigga was spitting, man. Like nobody was fucking with him on that album.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying, Mike. He's in a whole nother lane, man. He's in a whole nother echelon. He's not rapping like that on Iron Man. He's not
Not
rapping like
just for
that.
him, for everybody. And
But him specifically though, Mike, what you just recited, what you just spit, he wasn't like that. He's in his bag on that, man. You know what I'm saying? It's
he the
not
best. I mean, when I heard Supreme Clientele, I said, "Oh yeah, he the best rapper in Wu-Tang." And this is coming from somebody. My favorite rapper growing up was Method Man, and
right.
Method Man was still beasting.
Right. He kind of shifted when Supreme Clientele came out. He kind of took. I ain't say he took it from Ray because he kind of
Oh, he
took it
did.
from Ray because a mobility wasn't like that. You know what I mean? A mobility wasn't hitting. You know, so
I mean, even on Apollo Kids, man, that was like the first single, right? It was at least the first one I saw.
right.
This nigga and Ray's on there. This nigga's like a pair of bright yellow Air Max. Snatch $20 off, no tax, dream merchant. Like this nigga was rapping crazy, man.
Crazy. Let me finish my last
No,
two
go
real
ahead. I'm
quick.
sorry. I was on a tangent,
My
man.
last two before because I got some things going on in the background. But last two, I'm gonna say Return of the 36 Chambers. Like I said, you said, and I agree with the sentiment. ODB was a star. I mean,
Yeah.
Brooklyn Zoo, Shimmy Shimmy Y'all. I mean, RZA got down on the album. I mean, it's a star making turn, and really, you don't have a lot of people. Like a lot of groups don't have members like ODB. He was like a, you know, I want to say he was like Flavor Flav, but he was a Flavor Flav that could rap a little bit better. And he had a different type of style. You know what I'm saying? He was a different type of artist, and even his work later on with the Neptune showed that he was an artist. He was an evolved artist. He was just ODB. He was dirty. You know what I mean? So that's four. But damn, no, let me take that back. I'm sorry. I forgot about Liquid Swords. Liquid Swords is number 4 for me. I gotta put.
Go back to your list again. You got Liquid Swords at 4.
I got Liquid Swords. My list right now is the Purple Tape is 1.
Right.
2, I depending on the day, but I'm for this purpose of this pod today, I want to say Supreme Clientele because I love how it starts, man. Nutmeg is a crazy record. It's one of my favorite records on the album. Then you got Saturday Night, and you got Ghostini, and then we even mentioned like the one that hit the clubs. That one had a banger. We talking about Church A. Lagos. That was late in the run, and that was rocking. People don't even talk about that record, and that's like a record that had Ghost had the clubs. When was the last time that the Wu had the club like that? I mean, you had Ice Cream that had the club. I mean, if you were in New York, you might have heard some street shit in the club. But as far as like going to like where we used to run, you know, downtown on Peachtree and Visions, you would hear Church A. Lagos in Atlanta in the clubs. It was playing on Hot 97 down here. So it was a club. It was a club banger. So that's number 3. Number 4, and like I said, is Liquid Swords. And like I said it's tough because I enjoy the Pillage.
Hold on. You skipped because you said Supreme Clientele was 2, right?
I mean, Iron Man is 3.
Okay, so you got Iron Man over Liquid Swords because people are saying it's blasphemous that Liquid Swords is at 4. So you got Iron Man over Liquid Swords. Explain that a little bit if you can.
I explain that because you got Daytona 500. Daytona 500 was when I remember like it was yesterday, Mike. They used the Speed Racer video, and I listened to that song at least 10,000 times. And then another song I had in my Discman I listened to about 100,000 times. And my mom didn't understand why I was listening to it because I didn't grow up like that. But she was from New York. But All I Got Is You. I mean, that's a record that was like, I just like to have the production on it, right? I like how it was soothing. It was painful. It was reflective. And it was about a struggle that I couldn't relate to, but it made me think about, watching Saturday Night cartoons, plucking roaches at the cereal box. That's crazy, man. He depicted it. And he said, his brother had muscular dystrophy. It killed me. Yeah. I mean, that's like, he's painting a picture of a life that foreign to me, being in South Carolina at the time. But I mean, that's a beautiful, beautiful record. And it starts off with that skit. What brings you in here, blood? There ain't gonna be a lot of niggas left. We run out a lot of niggas to arrest. And then at the end, he's talking about the sun and the moon and the stars. You know what I'm saying? And why? Like that little poem at the end. I mean,
All of that got is one of the strongest Wu-Tang songs that there is.
It don't have no I mean, that's what a beautiful record. You don't have that type of moment on Liquid Swords. You just don't. You know what I'm saying? I love Liquid Swords. I like You know, shadow
What
boxing
about,
is a crazy.
what about Bible?
Yeah, I mean, Bible was cool. I mean, I like Bible. That was the second CD I ever got. I mean, that I actually physically bought was Liquid Swords. So I mean, I burned that to a damn scratched and pop. But I mean, Iron Man was something that just, I mean, those songs I listened to on repeat. I mean, I hate to
Not
remove
Cold
them.
World or Living in the World Today?
What's that song I like? It was like, who was on that song? It was the
Investigator.
God. The
Oh,
God. What's the God? And the
yeah.
motherfucker testify. How that shit go, man? You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. I think that I don't know, man. I
What's the
think
name of that song? It was like the last song on the CD. Hold on. It was like the God. The God. And I'm
all the people in the chat got you. Yeah, Liquid Swords is special. I think the Ghost, and I kind of want to stay on this. Yeah, Bible. I think I want to stay on this though. Jizz's thing, being in that group that he's in, and you touched on this with Old Dirty, man. Old Dirty is a star. And Old Dirty has an X factor, and I feel like people like him are the heart of their groups. Like I feel like Flavor Flav, even though he's not Chuck D on the mic and he's not making the beats that Bomb Squad's making, he is the heart of that group. You know what I'm saying? And those guys bring an entertainment value that sometimes, and I'm not saying that Jizz is not entertaining, but he's in a group with some of the most entertaining MCs we've ever seen. Like Ghost and the emotion that he brought out in All That I Got Is You, and the the star power that Old Dirty brings out in the Dirty version, and all of these are great albums, by the way. If somebody were to put Iron Man over Liquid Swords, I understand. I just think Iron Man's a little bit too long, and that's really the flaws that I think Iron Man has. But yeah, when you want to talk about a record like All That I Got Is You, it's an X Factor record. Yeah, it's hard for me to say that Jizza has a song that hits you like that on Liquid Swords. And that's not a knock on Liquid Swords. That's just giving credence to how incredible Ghostface is on what's it called? On All That I Got Is You. Like
What did
he's
you think?
incredible on there.
What did you think of to Cal 2000 Judgment Day?
I think that, let me say this about Method Man altogether. Like I said, my favorite rapper growing up, probably my first favorite rapper for real, for real. I think that we were very unfair to Method Man and the work that he was putting out. I think that there's a lot of focus and attention when it comes to what he was crafting up, and he never got the opportunity to just sit there and craft. I don't think Judgment Day 2000 is as bad as we once thought it was. Or I'm going to speak for myself personally. When I heard it, I think Dangerous Grounds might have been the first thing I heard on there. He was rapping crazy on there. I was disappointed in the album because it wasn't what I wanted. And I think that Method Man was probably the first artist that I felt like that in hip hop about, where it was like, he's not giving me what I want, and I'm not sitting here listening to the music as it is. Now, not saying that Cal 2000 is anywhere near Supreme Clientele, but when I heard Supreme Clientele, I was able to listen to it with fresh ears, with no expectations. I wasn't sitting here thinking about what I wanted from Ghostface. I just heard a dope ass album. And I think when you have people like Method Man and, Cannabis to a degree too, the expectations are so high and so up there. It's hard for artists to be able to live up to that, number one. And then not only just live up to that, but give the people what they want to hear from that artist. And so, yeah, to Cal 2000, if we're going to give it a mic rating, I could say
Four.
I could say it's a 4, and that's why I was
It's a 4.
struggling between 3.5 and 4. But I think it's better than what we thought it was. But again, the standards are different because you're the most famous Wu-Tang member. You're the guy that has added all types of contributions to some of these incredible albums. I mean, is it too much? Because somebody said earlier, if Method Man had the beats from Only Built for Cuban Links, it would have been better, or whatever they said. I don't believe that album would have been better if Method Man had the beats. I think these guys, they did something. It was magic. You can't recreate magic. I can't even begin to think how all these songs would sound as solo Method Man songs. Because look at the run on Only Built for Cuban Links. You got Knowledge God, you got Criminology, you got Incarcerated Scarfaces, Rainy Days, Guillotine, Can It Be Also Simple remix. And then you got that Shark Niggas skit, which is a classic. Then you got Ice Water, Glaciers of Ice, Verbal Intercourse, Wisdom Body, Spot Rushes, Ice Cream, Wu Gambinos, Heaven and Hell. What?
Right, and I think they're different artists, right? So I think the way Ray, RZA, and Ghost approached the Purple Tape was more for that was street rap. That was mafioso rap in the Wu-Tang way, right? Method Man can't do that. He's more of just an MC that's just gonna rhyme, and he's not that. He's not talking about those street tales and dope slinging and all that the gritty street reality that Ghost and Ray were talking about. So I don't think he could even approach those beats like that. He didn't want to. So I don't think RZA was going to lace him up with that type of stuff. But I was disappointed with Tical 2000 because it was a little long. I mean, it had a lot of skits on it. But I did like Dangerous Grounds. I did like the title track. I did like Torture. I did like Spazzola. I think Inspector Deck was on Spazzola. I like the piano loop on that. But otherwise, it's long, man. I think he could have cut some of those records, made it about 14 tracks, and tightened it up. But it's disappointing because I always expected Meth to come out with the best. When I heard him on End of the 36, I expected him to be the one that came out with that classic, and he just didn't. You know what I mean?
Well, this is my other thought. And I'm glad you mentioned that on Tical 2000. The gap is the biggest issue I have with Tical 2000. 94 to 98, this is a whole different hip-hop game. You know what I'm saying? Like, think about that. Think about what hip-hop sounds like in 94 and think about what it sounds like in 98. Method Man needed an album in 96. He did. He just needed one. And I think that from what we remembered from Tical and what was successful on there, not only did Wu-Tang sound differently by 98, but the whole game sounded differently, you know? And we were hearing Method Man adjusting to the times, if you will, and it wasn't what we wanted. Like you said, it was way too many skits, way too many songs. But going back to Supreme Clientele, Ghost had a gap like that too. Ghost had a gap, and he was able to deal with the sound changes and make a better album than he did previously. So what Ghost did on Supreme Clientele was difficult. And Tical 2000, is proof of that. You know what I'm saying? When you make an album in 94 and your next one is 98, you're in a whole different game. When you make an album in 96 and your next one is 2000, you're in a whole different game. And the fact that Ghostface was able to do that and not only be better, but make a whole better album than he did previously, and the first album is really good, I think that I got to give Supreme Clientele credit for that. Now, back to Method Man. I don't know what the mindset was. We don't talk about Tical 2000 enough and its creation enough. Like, what was his lab work like at that time? I mean, what was the editing process? Was RZA really involved? Why did it take 4 years? Did he put together this album in 98, 97? It just comes across, and I want to be careful when I say this because I don't have any information and I don't want to, cast aspersions on shit that I don't know. But it comes across to the listener when we were kids. When you see somebody like a Jay-Z who's constantly working, Busta Rhymes, Nas, whatever, it comes across, and Tupac and Big and all that, comes across as somebody like Method Man didn't work as hard as those guys. Now I don't know if
Well,
that's
well, I
true or
don't know
not.
that I don't know if that's the case. And we're gonna get
Yeah,
Leroy in a
I
minute.
don't know if that's the case either, but I'm just saying it comes across as that. You know what I'm saying?
I think the album was discombobulated. It didn't have a direction. One of the things that Iron Man had, that the Purple Tape had, and even Supreme Clientele, you can tell those albums have a music direction. It's arranged and sequenced right. I don't think Method Man had that luxury because he's got like several producers on this joint. He got Havoc produced a couple songs. Shit, I think Inspector Deck did 2 records, and I was like, Inspector Deck producing records. Not that many records. You know what I'm saying? And then he had True Master did a lot. RZA didn't do a lot on the album, so Takao 2000 didn't have a good direction. You know what I'm saying? It
We
had that
don't know
gap.
why though. It's like why? And maybe that could be because Method Man was such a star that he was getting pulled in so many different directions. I mean, we saw on the documentary, the show, that, even with him putting together Takao, first of all, you got the flood that happened. Boom, that's one thing. But once the 36 Chambers drop and he's on Def Jam, everybody's like, yo, everybody wants a piece of Method Man, pause. But he didn't really have that time to really lamp out and go out there and create in a way that, Ray and Ghost did on Only Built for Cuban Links. They rushed his project. From what I understand, he recorded most of his project on the road. Him and Redman recorded Blackout on the Hard Knock Life tour. So Method Man's whole career has been about him, basically making music on the run. And maybe Cal 2000 was something like that too, because were they on that tour at that point or about to be on that tour?
It's a good question. I don't know.
Jermaine Johnson.
They were about to be on that tour, and that's when Method Man really started working heavy with Red, and kind of shifted that musical direction for him. So it was a little bit different. We got Leroy. We brought Leroy in. Leroy's in the building.
Yes,
sir. I know you guys said we shouldn't bring Leroy on, but we brought Leroy on anyway.
Hey, one thing about this crew. Let me say something. Mike D, I speak for you and I speak for me. We're a loyal crew, man. When a man has a bad day or a perceived bad day, we don't diss our brothers. We don't leave them in the lurch. It's like a teammate. It's like the Chicago Bulls. If Scotty had a bad day, Mike ain't just gonna just put him on the wayside. We gonna get together as a team, evaluate, work on it, and that's what it is, man. So Leroy's in the building. You're hearing the conversation.
Yeah.
Mike spouted off his top 5.
Well,
what's your top 5?
Hold on, let me get to these super chats and we'll get to your top 5, Leroy, real quick. Jermaine Johnson says, man, I secretly cried a little bit when Ghost performed All That I Got Is You in his versus battle. That was fucking incredible moment, for sure, man. That song still hits in the same way, for real. LP says, Meet the Grams beat sounds like the era of this era's RZA. Well, Alchemist does have a lot of those traits and characteristics, for sure. And I think we got one more super chat. He says, Jermaine Johnson with the super chat says, Ghost is my GOAT for having the balls to say F Hot 97 on Summer Jam stage. I still have a sour taste in my mouth for Hot 97 for how they reacted to the Ghost and Wu-Tang. I'm a Ghost guy, man. Ghost is actually probably my favorite rapper in a vacuum, to be perfectly honest with you guys.
He is. He is, Mike. That's your guy.
My guy, man.
He's like a superhero, and what you said about Supreme Clientele is absolutely correct. And he broke patterns, and that's what I want to talk about just real briefly is breaking patterns, because that's how Kendrick won this battle. If you're saying he won, Method Man, he broke patterns. He made metaphors out of cliches for the whole album, dealing with a concept of an airborne pathogen where everyone's wearing masks outside. Think about what I'm saying. But it's a lot going on here. So Ghost was able to break patterns. And for the chat, for people that don't agree with me, I'm perfectly okay with that. I want to work with you, right? So when I say some stuff, take some notations down, ask me about it. I want to work with you. We're going to agree on some things and we're not going to agree on some things. But I want to make sure next year or the year after is popping like 98. And 97 in hip hop. And that means everything got to be turned up crazy. So I need all the questions. I need everything because we got to turn this thing up.
All the smoke.
Yeah.
I mean, one of the things for Method Man, I'm going to let you get to your top 5, man. His word placement. And I don't know if there's, a rap genius type word for it, but the way he puts things together, man, he's somewhere else with it. Like when he says like the last temptation, I'm the son of David Ruffin, and the way he puts those things together, like his verse on Reunited. Damn, how does his verse on Reunited start? Help me out in the chat. The appetite for destruction. Murder rate on this production. That's nothing. Iron Man, Twisted Metal.
I hear him ducking my dart gun, busting in every angle.
Yeah. It's like, yo, man, the way he puts it together, nobody raps like that. And it's something that I guess, man, for his abilities, he has the J. Cole issue. We want an album that gives us all of the things that we get from an individual verse from him throughout a whole effort. And I don't know if that's unreasonable or what, but he's just
I think he almost got it. I mean, what Meth does is genius level, people, because if you think about a cliche, we all know what a cliche is, and we all know what a metaphor is, right? So write down all the cliches that you think you know. Method Man uses all of them. There's like 100. And now he's making metaphors out of them. So it's like, it sounds simple, but when you really break down what he's saying, like I'm in a streetcar named Desire, or is that like all these kind of weird references that add up to, you know, some dope moments, man. So I think Methical is a genius. He's come through Pendulum. He explained his process, his writing process. He said, man.
Oh, I was gonna ask you about. See, I didn't even know that, because I was just about to say, I wonder what Method Man's writing process is like. Can you expound upon what you heard from Method Man explaining his writing process?
Oh, we talked to Meth, and he said he told me straight up, bro, when I'm sitting down at my kitchen table, sometimes I write a triple entendre, and I just stand up and walk around my own house like I am that. Like, he's still excited about the craft, you know what I mean? Yeah. And his writing process is it can be tough because he's looking for a different approach a lot of times. Every time he's looking for something different. We're going to talk about Conway in the future on this show, but again, it's breaking patterns, and even our brain function. I studied psychology in college, right? Even our brain function has a lot to do with metaphors, cliches. Like we wrap our brains around different models of speech. So it's dope, man.
I mean, you know, Method Man also, and I give Ghostface this as well. One of the things that really stands out to me with both of them, you're in a group like Wu-Tang. And so there's going to be incredible verses all around you, whatever song you're on. We don't talk about enough how Method Man followed up Abomatomically, Socrates, Philosophies, and Hypotheses, Can't Define, I'll Be Dropping These. Right. He came in second, and that shit didn't drop off at all. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, he's able to hold up on all of these efforts and still be like one of the pillars on a shadow boxing. Because if we just took GZA's verse, I mean, let's just say we take Method Man's verses off of shadow boxing, and you just hear GZA's verse, you're like, yo, this nigga killed it. This nigga had two verses around that makes you forget how incredible GZA's verse was on there. And so that's what really makes Wu-Tang different too, man. It's like they always have to step it up. There's no time for slouching for those, at least for those top 5 guys in that group, because you know the Inspector's coming here with a crazy verse. You know that Ghost is going to come with the personality and a crazy verse. You know that Raekwon's going to come with consistency. You know that GZA's going to come with some lyrics that no one has ever thought of. And you know Method Man's going to do all of those things. So these guys have, you're talking about iron sharpening iron. There's nothing like it in possibly music. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm trying to think of a group that collectively is this strong. Like, we could go R&B, we can go, you know, hip hop, we can go rock. Member for member, I don't know if there's a group that is this strong, member for member.
No way. And just like with Meth, like he says, you know, dudes are strapped and they're trying to twist my bear cap. Like, when you're trying to say they're trying to shoot me in the head, but he's saying they're trying to twist my bear cap. So these little micro decisions and rhymes, it's like that is genius though. They're trying to twist my bear cap. He said something about there's land sharks posted up, a land shark. That really doesn't go together. But when he says it, you understand what he's saying. You know what I'm saying?
That verse again? Because it's
as I spread like germs, strike the globe with the pestilence, the hard-headed burn, my testament to those burn, play my position in the game of life, standing firm on foreign land, jump the gun to the frying pan, into the fire, transform into the Ghost Rider, a six-pack.
Stop. So just the gun from the frying pan, like, come on, man. Yo, man, this nigga was crazy. In a street car named Desire. Who got my line in line in fire holding back? Yo, my people, if you with me, where the fuck you at? Niggas is that, and they trying to test my big cap. The quarter germ for the bad seed, for bad sperm. Herb got my wig fried like a bad perm. What the blood clot? We smoke pot. You want to think twice? I think not. The higher lung ain't got to tell you where it's coming from. Guns. See, he can get you with his style, his flow, his articulation, his lyricism. Now, we don't really hold Method Man to the top of the Wu when it comes to lyricism, but I think he is.
Yeah, he's up there. I mean, they're all crazy though. They're all crazy.
They're all crazy.
Up there. I mean, Method Man, he got the hooks, but he has a certain melodicness to his flow. Like it's a certain rhythm that he gets into. It's like a character. And plus with the comic book reference, you know, the Ghost Rider, but he sounds like a superhero, just like Ghost sounds like a superhero. And these are things, you know, these are things that are better than what I'm gonna talk about Questlove in a second, just to go back. But when you go into a superhero motif, even though it's not real, I can believe that. You know, to add on what Questlove was saying, I don't agree or disagree, but what I do hear, and I've heard it all my life since I've been in rap, I think people get behind a microphone and they almost change identities, and not in a way like a superhero. It's like you become more vicious because you're behind a microphone. And
Is it the Bishop from Juice type of thing?
Huh?
Is it the Bishop from Juice type of thing, you mean?
You know, that was
I'm not saying that disrespectfully. I'm just saying
you become way more vicious. And I'm not calling anybody a punk or weak. I'm saying I don't believe you in the fact that I don't believe these rappers are vicious human beings. I believe they are portraying that for acceptance from the culture. And that has always struck me kind of odd. And that's why when J. Cole, you know, J. Cole won because he stepped out of that. He's like, I can't really do that. You know, even though we was
claiming himself, yes.
Yeah, I mean, it's no need to change who you are to try to fit in because now you become part of an algorithm, right? So you have Kendrick and Drake. Kendrick represents real hip hop. We all felt the euphoric, not like us. We had a great weekend. Hope everybody had a great weekend, right? So I want to recapture that feeling. So how do you recapture that feeling, right? You have to break a pattern. You can't go in being like everybody else because that is it is an exaggeration of the real nigga motif. It is an exaggeration. Nobody really acts like that. You know what I'm saying? And if
a Method Man verse, since we're talking Method, and I like giving Method Man his flowers because I don't think he gets them enough. We always talk about Method Man, not delivering the album that people wanted him to deliver. But you remember his feature on All In Together for Limp Bizkit?
Yep.
When he was like, they call me Big John Stud, my middle name Mud. Dirty water flow too much for you, thug. You can't stand the flood. What up, Doc? Whole big gun like Elmer Fudd. Show shock. Mr. Meth, I'm unplugged. Burn. Temperature's too hot. No, burn. Yeah, temperature's too hot for TV. Burn. Playing with mine to get you state time. Locked behind 12 bars from a great mind. Killer B in the club. You hear all the stuff he's doing? Killer B in the club with his ladybug. Bring a sword to the dance floor to cut a rug. Love is love all day until they throw slug. And catch another life in cold blood. Can't feel me till it's your blood. Murder rate's tremendous. Crime is endless. Same shit, different day. Father, forgive us. They know not what they do. All praises due. I'm big like Easy and Big Bamboo. And this is on a Limp Bizkit record.
Hey, like, Primo.
Yeah. Yeah, man. And it's like, and then he goes back in, but just the little nuances and the metaphors and similes that he always throws in there. He's very entertaining with it. And when you hear it, it's just enough on the surface where you're like, I got to listen to this again. Or did he just say that?
Right, because he could have said, I'm in the club with my lady. He said, I'm in the club with my ladybug. Like my ladybug. Like, why would you say that? Yeah, but this is what makes him different.
And bring a sword to the dance floor to cut a rug. That's some Wu-Tang shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, just putting all those things together, it's like, yo, man.
Meth is the truth,
superhero rap. That's what it is. Like, there's no other way to describe it.
It's superhero rap, for real. He's super descriptive. Like, he can describe something down to a molecule. You know what I mean?
I'm surprised, and maybe because he never tried it like that, and I'm sure he's done it, but I'm surprised that Method Man isn't one of our best storytellers, because as descriptive as he is with his pen, like, I wish Method Man would have told more stories. And I think that if we would have gotten Method Man to really get into his storytelling bag, maybe we would have gotten that album that everybody thinks that we should have gotten from Method Man.
Yeah, I think Meth, he tried to go so Wu-Tang, like ultra Wu-Tang sounding, because it made sense. He was in the era of like shiny suit era, like as that was ramping up and going out, and then we go into like new stuff, Eminem, Master P, right? But he's in that shiny suit, super glamorous. So he's like, nah, I'm gonna stay super Wu-Tang. So the beats are super dirty and grimy, and the wordplay is just nasty and like, but he he did his thing, man. I rock with Meth.
Oh, of course. And I think that too, one of his gifts and curses is the fact that he's the most versatile in the group. He could work with Biggie. He could work with Limp Bizkit. He could work with Tupac. He could work with anybody. Like, I've never really heard Method Man uncomfortable sounding on a record. And I think that when you're that great of a collaborator, and we just talked about all the great collaborations he has even within the clan, it's like when it's time for you to do your stuff, it's like, well, shit, I like collaborating. And I think that's why him and Redman was so great together. Like, he's like, listen, I know, Redman knows how to make his own stuff and has his own identity as a solo artist. But Method Man was like, well, shit, when we collab together, I mean, who do you think actually, I don't want to say shine more, but who do you think really sounded more invigorated when Method Man and Redman collab?
You know what? It's close, man. Sometimes it's Meth, sometimes it's Red. They're like, to me, they're like neck and neck on the same track. But
I think Method Man, I think when he raps with somebody else, it brings out something different in him, man.
Oh yeah. I appreciate that about Meth too, because you have people that like they want to do an album all by themselves, right? And I got no issue with that. That's great. Some people recognize that their best selves is when they collaborate, and I think Meth recognized that. No, it's better for me to collaborate, because that's when I'm going to try to outdo the other person, and that you have to recognize that about yourself. And I appreciate that about Meth.
I mean, when you think about How High, and that was the first time those guys ever collabed together, they sound like they've been rapping together for 10 years on that song. It's incredible, man, to think that this is the first song y'all made together. Like, y'all sound like one guy. You know what I'm saying? Like, shit's great. Yeah. The super chat says, on a scale of 10, Wu's brand and global impact is like a 14. Street Negroes in Brownsville, BK, wear golden W hats, and toddlers in Europe wear golden W shirts. Why do you think Wu-Tang's global impact is the way that it is in ways that other hip-hop collectives aren't?
I think that when you step into the door, like, we're here for knowledge and to save the babies, I think the whole world is like, wait, what? Now we're hearing you rap. You sound like superheroes. You have a kung fu aesthetic along with it. You have a chess piece aesthetic. You have comic books. You have everything that a rap nerd, for lack of a better term, could want in one group. And your rapping is phenomenal. And but I think when you step in the door there and you're like, yo, we're here to save the babies with knowledge, I think most of the world sides with that. You know,
I think that Wu-Tang has a special ingredient that, again, we talked about their individual talents. First of all, you got that production that sounds like nothing else. Then you have personalities in the group, Method Man, Old Dirty. Then you got just straight up bars from everybody. And they are kind of that group that lets you know that you don't really need your quote unquote crossover moment to cross over. You know what I'm saying? Like, I can't really point to one record. I mean, we could say Cream or whatever, but Cream wasn't like, you know, it wasn't like Steelos. I wish it was a little bit taller type of hit. You know what I'm saying? Like, Cream is a hard ass rap record. You know what I'm saying? Like,
hell yeah.
So I can't even say Wu-Tang had their quote unquote crossover global moment. I think that everybody just bought into who they are and, like you said, what they represent. And everybody picked their individual members that they loved and then ended up falling in love with other members while continuously being a fan of the collective.
Exactly. Yeah. I was in the meth
type of thing.
Yeah, I picked my different characters. I was in the meth, then I was in the Ray, then Ghost, then Jizza, then Deck, you know, and Ron just showed the picture of Uncontrolled Substance. I like that album. A lot of people didn't like it, but I was all right with it. But I picked
like Avengers, man. It is some comic book shit. It's like, you see how these people stand alone, but you just can't wait to hear them together. Like, it was an event waiting for Triumph to come, or when the W was coming out and these guys were going to do the jump off. Like, we loved hearing these guys together. And it didn't even feel like who's going to have the best verse type of thing. It was like, I just want to hear 9 great verses.
Triumph was crazy, bro. Triumph is insane. Like, my mind almost.
Let's do it. Since we're about to rank your solo albums, let's rank the verses.
Hey, real quick, guys, real quick, I want to say something that why Wu-Tang got so big. One, to Leroy's point, they did have that comic book aesthetic, and they also, MTV positioned them as like a rock group too. They were like a hip hop rock group. So they labeled them as a band. They were like on the Weekend Rock. They were, you know, they was getting positioned like they went on tour with Rage Against the Machine. They went on tour with a lot of rock groups. So they had that kind of influence as well. So they were big on college campuses. They were big in the streets, big in New York. And MTV kind of made them like more of like a rap, hip hop band type deal. And that's what kind of made their popularity grow as well. So, and an international piece with the Asian influence, the comic book shit. But Leroy, go ahead and cook with your top 5. I just want to throw that in there real quick.
You're right. I agree. Their music kind of had a rock. If you take out the guitars, right, and you're just listening to raw sounds, it kind of hits you the same way a rock band would hit you, you know?
I think they just had rock star power. And I think the Method Man and Old Dirty Bastard have a lot to do with that. Look at Old Dirty Bastard, man, and what he was doing in the 90s. Like, he was a rock star. Like, you know, those clips that we would see of Ozzy Osbourne back in the day, getting on stage, wilding out, talking shit, high as fuck. Like,
right.
You know what I mean? Like, that's what Dirty was. And I think that the Flavor Flav comparison is right on point, because to me, I don't know if Public Enemy's message would have hit the same if Flavor Flav wasn't in that group. Some people might have thought it was too preachy if Flavor Flav wasn't in that group. You know, it's Andre 3000 said, like, speeches only reaches those who already know about it. This is how we know about it. But Flav was able to get them an audience that they may not have had otherwise. And I feel the same way about Old Dirty. Like, I think that Old Dirty's simplistic approach lyrically and his choice of rhyming like he rhymed, because clearly he could rhyme however he wanted to, but he knew there was no father to his style and he just wanted to be different than everybody else, brought people into the Wu-Tang as fans that may not have been fans just listening to Ray, Ghost, Jizza, or Deck. And I think Method Man kind of had that too. They all were able to pull different people through and to that Wu-Tang collective, I mean, as fans. And I think I'll say this, man. and I'm sure the people out there can say the same thing, and probably agree with what I'm saying. A lot of white teenage fans, from a global standpoint, really gravitate to lyricism and to the bar work and those stanzas. Whereas we, and I can speak for myself, especially here in Atlanta, we were kind of moved more so by the rhythmic, cadences, or your flow, or how you sound on the record. And I think that once they were positioned as a rock band, and they were getting some of these, these white teenagers or young white college students, they could sit there and listen to a full Wu-Tang effort and be like, yo, what did he just say? Or what, you know what I mean? Like, and I think that pulled them in as well. And it's so much to listen to with a Wu-Tang album.
Oh yeah, for sure. And the martial arts thing too. Back in those days, martial arts was a huge thing. The ninja movies and all that. You have different kind of ninjas. Like different ninjas do different styles, so they played into that. But I had a conversation with one of my friends. He's a white dude, but he's like a chemical engineer and stuff. And we were talking. I was talking about slang and proper English, right? And I'm not saying one is smarter than the other, but I do think that the white folks that were into Wu-Tang, they went to schools that had a little bit more money in a lot of cases. And again, it's not about one being smarter than the other, right? Because one's using proper English in their school because they're being critiqued on their proper English.
Yeah, we access, practice, and culture,
practice, right? So they're hearing Wu-Tang too. Now we use proper English also, but we also use slang, and slang for us is a real word. And slang is actually genius. It's downplayed in America because we do it, but it's actually genius because you're making up a word for something.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
What Prodigy did was genius. What Camp Lo was doing was genius. Where you could speak in code where only your circle understands it. You literally just created a language. And that takes a smart person to do.
That's crazy. So we hear the slang and we're like, yep, I know what he means. I know what he means because we're picking up the slang. They're hearing the twisting of the language arts, and they're like, okay, so they have something for everybody. You know what I mean?
What Ghost say is like, say, dear Ghost, you the only nigga I know. Like when the cops come, you never hide your toast.
Right.
Like, what? But we know what that means. You know what I'm saying? Like,
never had the toast.
On the surface, like, what's toast? Yeah, and then you got to break down what toast is and why it means that, and they can do that.
But that's fire. That's fire. And twisting of words, right? In slang, that has been around since the beginning of time, and we do that. And us as Black people, we do that in a particular way under a certain pressure. And then we do it to communicate a message where only we hear it, but everyone else in the room didn't catch it.
Well, that's why we have to switch up our slang so much, because once everybody else gets onto it, it's like, oh, we got to move on to another word. That's why off the hook turns into off the chain and then turns into something else. You know what I'm saying? It's like we're constantly evolving our slang, and then you have some subsets like Wu-Tang and Mobb Deep who will say, you know what, we're gonna come up with some slang that only we understand, and people who listen to us understand.
Right.
Shit, the Dungeon family did that too. Shout out to them. The Raisinhead super chat says Meth's voice is great. It underrates his lyrics. I agree with that. He has one of the best rap voices and flows. Period. Yeah. I know when we were doing our MC rating, when you look at somebody like Method Man, he scores a lot of great individual attributes across the board. The only place where he starts lacking is when we start talking storytelling, albums and things like that. But if you want to talk about individual MC criteria from voice, flow, performance, he's a great performer too.
Performance matters.
He's off the charts. Features, he's off the charts when it comes to these things.
Yeah, performance matters. Even I'm trying to say what it matters more than, but I just caught a brain fart. But performance matters because that's how a lot of them made their bread, doing this early on, this performance. So that I think that's an underrated aspect that people should look at when they're ranking.
Hip hop started out in the park, right? And so it's always been at the forefront of performance, and performance to me is something that can't be cheated in the music industry, right? I think that when it comes to performance, that's the best way to truly connect to your audience. If you're a great performer, you could sell a subpar record. In my personal opinion, and I'm not saying this to be funny or whatever, like Beyonce is a dope artist. But what Beyonce wins is the fact that she's an incredible performer. She can sell you an okay song with a great performance. I always thought Single Ladies was an okay song. I thought it sounded like Get Me Body, and I think Get Me Body is a slightly better record. When she performed that song on that video and made that timeless video with that record, she made that song timeless. She made that song bigger with her performance. That's just bottom line. And performance, like you said, in music, it goes a long way. Like, you have to connect to your audience. It's probably, it might be the strongest attribute in music, because really, technically, somebody could create a song and just perform it and never really have to record it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's where the music started, because we didn't have a radio 100 years ago. So they had to watch you perform it. You know what I mean? And I think people should go back and look at that era, and you'll find a lot of similarities with what goes on now, what went on then. But people had to perform, is what I'm saying.
I mean, yeah, if James Brown never performed and we just heard the records, yeah, the records are incredible, but the performance pushed it somewhere else.
For sure.
I mean, Common's version of The Food on the Chappelle Show is better than the recorded version. I think Kendrick Lamar's live version of I that they put on To Pimp a Butterfly is better than the recorded version. So, yeah, I think performance goes a long way. And I love Outkast, man, but it's unfortunate that we don't get performances from acts like that who made timeless music, because I feel like the music would have even stronger legs if we got those updated performances from these artists. Like, performances are important. It ain't just about the fact that this is how a lot of artists get paid. Performance is that number one connection between the artist and the fans, because that energy is live and it's real. Jermaine Johnson with the super chat. Go ahead.
Meth used to walk on people's hands. Like, they hold their hands up and he's walking on their hands.
Method Man and Redman were performing like rock stars, man. They were jumping in the crowd. You know, their verses was one of my personal favorite verses, because you could tell these guys are in great performance shape. They perform all the time, and that goes a long way too. When you have an act that performs all the time, they're able to give you these classic records in an updated form and give you that raw energy still. Like, Jermaine Johnson with the super chat says, and a lot of NYC fucks with Kappa heavy. A lot. I fuck with Kappa. You know, and I've been very vocal on this channel to say that I personally like Kappa more than Deck. And that's no disrespect to Deck, but I mean, I just like Kappa. I think that, you know what I'm saying, like, his flow, his energy, his you know what I'm saying, his originality and how he approaches it. I'm a fan. I'm a fan of Deck too. But Deck is more, you know what I'm saying, that lyrical beat. He might be the second most lyrical guy in the group next to Jizza, honestly.
The way he started off on Cuban Links 2, the first song on Only Built for Cuban Links 2, he just murdered that, killed it.
There's nobody in the clan that you want to start off a verse more than you want Deck to start the verse off. He's proven that he's the best starter in the group, and closely followed by Ray. But
Ray is crazy.
Start off the Deck's verses or songs when he starts off a song, it's epic. He's damn near you know, flawless when it comes to that. When he starts off a song, it's on.
I used to think too, like, how does Ray remember his rhymes? If you listen to him, they're like, they can go all over the place. Like, he can, like, that's amazing, gun in your mouth talk, verbal foul hawk, create, you know, like, I'm talking about Triumph verse. Like, where are you going? Like, connect thoughts, make my man child walk, swift notarizer, blue tank, all up in a high riser. Yo, tranquilizer, here's a dosage, delegate my clan with explosive, wow, my pen blow line ferocious, Mediterranean. Like, wait, your pen, like the Mediterranean, like, where are we going? You know,
it's pretty amazing.
It's crazy.
All my niggas in the back, stadium pack. Linebacker nigga flash gas, see through yellow lines. Rock a fly jersey in the summertime. Guard magic marker rap, bleed Benadine. Relax, wrote this. It's like, whoa, coming at your clan with explosive. Ugh.
It's
Man,
crazy.
back to the chat says, that's what my NY do come up with our own ish. I got my own ish. That's what every person in NY, that's why every person in NY can rap.
I love
New
it.
York does have the, I'm gonna keep it real. New York has the best rappers. And I say that.
You know, I'm coming from Cali. But I mean, someone saying that, I'm not mad because first of all, New York, that's where it comes from. That's the Mecca. So we all are kind of just pulling from that. But it's like they got a different array of styles, and New York is crazy, man. So I ain't mad at that at all.
I think Brooklyn specifically, I don't know, Brooklyn or Queens. Shit.
Either one.
Brooklyn, well, I already know where you're gonna go with the Brooklyn thing. I mean, I think Nas and Jay cancel each other out, right? Then Brooklyn at their number 2. I don't even say number 2, but you know, let's just say the other person you're gonna mention, Biggie. Okay, well then Queens is gonna have to match that with
Queens is crazy, man. Prodigy.
Queens is all over the place, but who do you want to match? Let's just say Jay and Nas balance each other out, right? And then we say the Brooklyn person goes to Biggie. Where's the Queens person gonna go? Because I want to say Cool G Rap for Kane.
Let me see here. Yeah, I mean, you got LL to Prodigy. Anything in between that?
Okay, you want to put LL up against Biggie?
You that'll work. That'll work. LL's here for that. You know what I mean? He's here for that.
All right, so Nas J, LL Biggie, Cool G Rap Kane, and then Brooklyn can say, you know what? Let's go Mos Def.
Hey, I'm not. I mean, from Mos Def to Fabulous, anywhere in between that, you know.
I love AZ too. Brooklyn got AZ too.
I love what New York City, they're really focused on just word for word and bar for bar and the amount of stuff that they can do. You know, rest in peace to Fred the Godson. I don't know if y'all knew about Fred the Godson, but when you listen to this man rhyme, he's rhyming in a, you know, kind of a slow cadence. You know, it's not that fast, but the amount of stuff he can do with just a few bars it's crazy, man. It's
Brooklyn
crazy.
Also got Foxy, Kim, Light. I mean, we want to go in that arena. Foxy, Kim, Light, Fab. I mean, are we giving Brooklyn Busta Rhymes? Is that Long Island?
Well, I thought he was from Brooklyn, right? But he might be from Long Island. Now I think about it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say.
Well, I want to ask the people in the chat. You know, I want to ask the New York people. Y'all claiming Busta Rhymes of Brooklyn or see Long Island? Jay Short with the super chat says, every person in New York can rap? ? I present you Pete Rock, Jim Jones, Memphis Bleak, and Made Men.
Hey.
Yeah, Benzino's from Boston.
Hey, now we ain't gonna do that to the Don Pete. Now Pete can spit. Now we ain't gonna do that to Pete. Now, no.
I can't believe you went there, Jay Short. I'm disappointed. Pharaoh Munch is Queens. LL, 50, Mobb Deep, Tribe, Run DMC, CNN, Lost Boys, Pharaoh Munch, Mega, Onyx, Tragedy. Woo! All right. Y'all already know I said Tribe's the greatest hip-hop group of all time. They from Queens. LL's from Queens. Run DMC is from Queens.
Yep.
50 Cent.
Queens.
50 Cent strong. It's from Queens.
Yep.
Mobb Deep, want to separate it, Prodigy, whatever, Queens. Nas.
Yeah.
I said LL. I don't know, guys.
Queens may got it.
I might go Brooklyn. It's Brooklyn off top. Jay, Big, Kane. Are we counting not Mos Def. Are we counting Busta Rhymes? Maybe, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Brooklyn has soloists where Queens has the groups. And I guess that's where you differentiate things because Lost Boys is a group. Tribe is a group. Run DMC is a group. If we went record for record, Queens might win that. But if we went MC for MC, I don't know, man. Brooklyn's strong. They're saying that Nas is technically from Brooklyn. He's born in Crown Heights. They're saying that Busta Rhymes is actually from Brooklyn and moved to Long Island.
That's
Michael
new.
Super Chat says, which J feature do you prefer between I Love the Dough and Young G's? Also, Drug Dealers Anonymous or What's Free? What say you? I want to go to you. I want to defer to you on that.
I'm going to go I Love the Dough. Then I'm going to go Young G's. Then I'm going to go Drug Dealers Anonymous. Then I'll go to the last one you said.
What's Free? I on What's Free better than Drug Dealers Anonymous, I guess.
I think Drug Dealers Anonymous is a better song. That beat's like sinister. Like that's just a crazy record. Let's be for real. That's the crazy.
Right.
Listen, this is what I will say, and I know he's not going to do it. I don't know if Jay-Z or any of his people listen to the show, but if Jay made a new album, I would like for it to sound sonically like Drug Dealers Anonymous sounds. I don't know if that's unreasonable.
It's unreasonable. I think
unreasonable?
I think me included, I think everybody is unreasonable. When we ask artists to give us what we want, I think we're all being unreasonable. Look, when you're rapping, like you just work with what you have at the moment. Like whatever I have in front of me is what I'm going to make. So if I got 30 beats, these are the beats I got. This is, right now I'm going to do my thing. I don't, so it's like they work with what they have in front of them. Now, Jay, he obviously is a little different because he can get any beat from anywhere. But I think
he can get anything cleared. He's always been able to get anything cleared. Have you ever heard of a situation where it's like, yo, this Jay-Z song didn't come out because the sample wasn't?
Exactly. I think if Jay wanted to just totally kill everybody, he could, because money gives you a lot of options. And if he wanted to just go to all the major labels and say, hey, can you just give me all the best stuff you have and I'll just pay for it, right? When he finishes those rounds, he could make the greatest album because all the labels would hand over their greatest stuff.
Well, I think that's what he gets tempted to do on the Black Album. And I think that's why even when we went through his catalog, the Black Album actually played the best because I think he took that approach. Now,
I think he tried to be.
This is what Jay struggles with, and I think you said this on the show too. He has to sell records, right? And so
he doesn't have to sell no records.
No, but he has to make music that is actually going to move culture, and he has to kind of balance out what he does with what times are.
Culture and music is not the same. Like we're concerned with culture. No one cares about culture but us. To everyone else, it's only music. We're the only ones that attack culture to music. So, and now Jay had to sell music back in the day, but if his music doesn't sell now, I don't think it matters. So
I think it does matter when you have 14 consecutive number one albums, and I think he wants to keep that streak going, right? Like, I think any competitor would want to keep that streak going. You wouldn't want to go out there and put out an album that breaks that 14 number ones in a row. Yeah, but that is a thought in his mind when he's creating.
But if you look at his patterns, though, right? His patterns are different. Like 1 minute he'll attach something to a brand, like with the Magna Carta thing, right? So obviously he's trying to sell, right? The next one he's doing like a response to his wife. Then he's doing something with Jay Electronica. Then he's teaming up with his wife. Before that, it's like he goes in a lot of directions because I think my own personal opinion is that he makes music for him. Like I think he thinks, what do I like? And then he makes it so he can listen to it.
I have a different opinion on that. I think that Jay knows what he likes and he kind of tries to incorporate what he likes into what he needs to make, right? Like I think that what Jay really likes, he likes that Reasonable Doubt shit. He likes that American Gangster shit. But I think when it came to the Blueprint 3, he knew he had to make, I got to make an Empire State of Mind. It might not be my personal favorite. I'm speaking like as a fan listening to Jay. I don't know if because basically when I listen to New Yorkers talk about Empire State of Mind, and how they disliked the record, it's hard for me to believe that Jay really loved that record from a, personal standpoint. I think he loved what it did for him, and I think he executed perfectly on what it was supposed to do. But if it wasn't him and he was listening as a hip hop fan, I don't know if he would vibe to that record.
Time out, fellas. Let's get back to the Wu, man. We're gonna get Jay another night, bro. Let's get back to the Wu. Let's get back to the Wu.
But look,
okay, let's get your top five.
To try to make my last point. Every artist should try to make an Empire State of Mind, because it will secure your life. If you're not trying to make a Empire State of Mind, and I don't know what you're trying to do. You want to secure your family's future and your future, right? So you should make that song.
Top 5 Wu-Tang solo albums.
Okay. I'm gonna go Only Built for Cuban Links. I'm gonna go Supreme Clientele, to Cal 2000.
Whoa. Explain that.
That's me personally. For me personally, I'm a big fan of this album. When I first was trying to learn how to write metaphors, I listened to this back in the day, and I started doing it so well that just a crazy event started to happen. I was all in the industry for a while, just off that skill set, right? So I have to put that in there because of it affected me personally, right? But I love the album though. That's so crazy.
What about the album affected you like that? Because it's interesting you say that. I think that Blackout did the same thing for me. Like Blackout album, him and Redman really taught me how to rap. Now it's one of my personal favorite albums, but I would never put it on a list. But that's just me, because I'm like, and I've always put it on a personal favorite list.
It's fire. If it's fire, it's fire. Like, what do you want? I like Pretty Tony album. I like the Ghostface Pretty Tony. Pretty Tony. Like, nobody talks about Pretty Tony. Like, Pretty Tony is fire. Like, what?
Pretty Tony's dope. Now, all right. Now, what about? And I could tell you what stood out for me on Blackout, but what exactly stood out for you on Cal 2000, where it did so much for you as an MC?
It's just the wordplay, right? I know I mentioned cliches and metaphors, but if you just think about rhyming cliches, that is insanity. Like, who would do that? Now, everyone go back, listen to this album later, and plus the album is really hard. Like, it's hard as nails. Like, it's like nails on a chalkboard. That doesn't sound good, but I mean, that's how it's real. I was a big fan of the Cyborg movie. I don't know if y'all remember Cyborg. The album's based on the album and the movie. They go together, like American Gangster and Jay, the Method Man and Cyborg. That he's playing a character. That's a character he's playing. So it's the bad guy from the movie. I don't know if y'all remember that movie with Jean-Claude Van Damme, but that's who Meth is playing. So, but it's just hard. It got Mobb Deep on it. It got Red on it. It got the whole Wu on it. I love the album, man. Now, if people don't like it, because the beats, again, they're gonna be so hard that you're gonna be like, what is this? Like, it sounds like early West Side Gun, but without the swag. I don't know, but
now where people are gonna kill you at, and I've been doing this podcast thing for a minute, and I know the comments are gonna be like, you put that album over Liquid Swords. Why would you put that album over Liquid Swords? Like, what would you explain to that person that would ask you why you would do that?
Right, but Meth was like the first Wu-Tang member that I really gravitated to, and it really, it really was all of his verses and features on different projects. So I gravitated to Method Man first. There's no diss to Jizza and Liquid Swords. Liquid Swords is a great album, and I actually had that on there. Someone says it wasn't on my list, but it was on there. It's like the last one. But okay, I gravitated to Method Man first, and then it went to Raid and Ghost. So I just went in the order of the characters I gravitated to.
All right, so you got Only Built for Cuban Links, you got Supreme Clientele, you got Cal 2000, and what we got it for?
It's I'm gonna go Iron Man. I'm gonna go Iron. So Ghost is on there twice. I'm gonna go Iron Man.
The best member of the group.
Yeah, and then I'm gonna go Liquid Swords. You know, Ghost is crazy. I remember playing Ghost. You know, I played Ghost for a bunch of girls, but I just remember girls just looking at me like I'm insane. Like when I'm just like nodding my head to Ghostface.
Yeah, it's like when you listen to Ghost and somebody's halfway listening, they're like, man, what is this nigga talking about? Especially here in the South, man. Like,
Right.
it's like, I understand what he's talking about. What you mean? Like, Iron Man, it was like salt rain, salt water tab, Iron Man, bubble bath, nucleus, split the atom in half. Like, I understand. I love his verse on Pete Rock's The Game. Like, yo, man, MC Ultra, like this nigga went in. But again, I feel like I'm biased whenever it comes to Ghostface discussions because I hear him different than other people hear him. That's why, like, when you run into a Ghostface fan, it's like you ran into a long lost friend or something. We need our own group out here. Like, we need our own like meetups and shit, like the Ghostface fans.
You're a dope artist. You have your core fans that rock with you, and I know what Ghostface talking about. If other people don't, hey, I'm cool. But, you know, I know.
Yeah. Matt Max in the Super Chat says, if the Bronx can get my my side of towns, Mount Vernon / Yonkers, it's us. KRS, DMX, Pun, Slick Rick, MF Doom, Jada, Style, Chic, Melly Mel. FBK got the cats. Yeah, I mean, listen, that is pretty deep. I will say that, but they're gonna have to. The Bronx is gonna have to get Yonkers though. How do y'all do that up there, man? I thought Yonkers was something separate. I know Mount Vernon's something separate too. Like, is the Bronx claiming all of that? But Manhattan, you're getting Harlem. Man, MF, man, is Doom from the UK or are we gonna? And is Slick Rick from the UK or is he gonna get the Bronx too? I don't know. I don't know. But you know, the Bronx got some heavyweights though, for real. I think that over time they didn't have the massive amount of MCs that Brooklyn and Queens had because it seemed like for a minute everybody coming out of New York was coming out of Brooklyn or Queens. But this group that we're talking about, they hold the whole Staten Island down where this group alone can go up against whole boroughs.
That's another element too. They had the mafia element in their stuff too, coming out of Staten Island. So you got the ninja thing, comic books, the 5%, the mafia, the superheroism. But it's everything in a gumbo pot. Like, it's crazy.
Man, Max says, I hate that record, Mike. I want to slap Jay for disrespecting us like that. I mean, I don't get it.
Right.
I mean, well, you know, not to jump back on that, but I understand what Leroy's saying that every MC should want to make.
It's not about just the money. It's not about just the money. It's about picking the right beat, and then you pick the right hook, and then you put the right content with the right beat and hook, right? For an anthem for your city. So everybody loves the city that they're from, right? So you make a song that'll make your city go insane. That's the goal. It's not just money.
I never had a problem with the record. I'm not even going to front. I liked the record when it came out. But I was always surprised by, you know, New Yorkers and the way they viewed the record. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and say I was playing it over and over. It does sound like a tourist record, right? Like people who aren't from New York play this shit before they get on their plane or their flight to New York or get to Times Square for the first time or whatever. But I feel the same way about Welcome to Atlanta. I never liked that record. And so I can understand where the New Yorkers are coming from with Empire State of Mind because I feel the same exact way about Welcome to Atlanta. When they have like events in Atlanta and you're watching on TV, like whether it be an All-Star game, Super Bowl, whatever, and they keep playing dun, 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 dun. It's like, come on, man. I get it.
They played that record crazy, bro. They played that in California crazy. Like,
and be clear, Ludacris killed that shit. One of his strongest verses, period.
Murder.
We got Super Duper in the building. What's going on with Super Duper?
What's really good, fellas? What's happening?
Good, man. I know you got some problems with some things that Leroy has said. Please voice your opinion.
No, I ain't gonna. I'm not. You know what? I'm gonna give Leroy a break today, man. I ain't gonna even do him like that. I'm gonna give him a pass. Hey, but I do agree with Leroy with Tikal. Not saying that it's Tikal too.
Yeah.
I think it's better than the first Tikal. So like right now in 2024, when you listen to that album, it's definitely better than the first Tikal. I don't know what Method Man was really doing. Like that album didn't age well at all.
I
But
think
I'm gonna go.
Tekashi kind of threw together because he was on tour. They lost a lot of beats in the flood, and I don't think he had the time or the experience at that point in his career to really craft the album. And I mean, let's just keep it real. Wu-Tang didn't have, as a solo guys, they didn't have a culture set yet to know what to do with their solo projects. I mean, Method Man was kind of the test dummy in that light, but they knocked it out the park after all of those.
Yeah.
Hey, I will say this though about Leroy. We don't want to hear you say Jay-Z no more. We don't want to hear you talk. You disqualified from talking Jay-Z, man. You barred.
All right, cool, man.
Hey, but here go my top 5 Wu albums, solo albums though.
Uh-huh.
Like I said in the chat before, or not in the chat, in one of the streams before. For me, it's Iron Man #1.
Wow.
Like that. Wow. I think it's the most it's the, even though Ghost don't like it like that, it's the most cohesive, most formed album out of all of them. Now lyrically, Only Built for Cuban Links is better, and yeah, he did have a lot of help from Raekwon on there, but I'm not going to disqualify the album because of Raekwon on the album. I mean, it was a joint album. It's cool, like whatever, it's still Ghost's first album, and I enjoy the songs more than I enjoy the songs on Cuban Links. But Cuban Links is 2. Liquid Swords is 3. What's Jizz's? No, not Jizz's. Oh my God, I'm having a brain fart right now.
It happens when you're alive.
Supreme Clientele is 5 though for me, and then 4 would be Old Dirty Bastard. Old Dirty Bastard album, like for me, like for the man. I mean, for me, Supreme Clientele is kind of all over the place. It's not like it's a great hip hop album, but concept wise, it don't really get into the concepts until like the last maybe 4 or 5 songs. And it's a great hip hop album. And I think that's where MF Doom really discovered what he actually wanted to do with the game. You know what I'm saying? Where like it developed his character from Supreme Clientele.
Clientele, and it's funny you say that because Supreme Clientele does kind of give you that feel of like he kind of created a whole lane of, I don't want to say underground MCing, but that whole I'm just going to throw some words out there and putting it in one piece type of delivery that Doom ran with, and then a lot of people after Doom ran with as well. Like we got a whole sector of MCs that do that now. Like I'm Gucci down, Ollie boots, Jamaican hat, long 4 pound, ask niggas how I get down. Don't speak.
But concept wise, if we're talking about these top 5 albums, it's the weakest concept wise.
I can see that.
But it's a great hip hop album. I love the album. I listen to it every week. So I you know what I'm saying? So, Ghost in my top 5, along with Prodigy. And we're gonna stop separating. We're gonna stop the Hempstead talk with Prodigy, man. He claimed Queensbridge. They brought him in. He from Queensbridge, man. We ain't even having that talk no more. It's over.
Man, Max in the chat says, Mike, I live in Mount Vernon. I could walk to the BX. So hey, I guess Mount Vernon and the BX are one. Mad Max also says I can name 50 New York anthems that are better than Empire State of Mind.
I don't like that song myself. I think it's a corny song.
I mean, but we would.
Corny song. I know we don't want to talk about Jay, but what don't people like about it? Because I have my ideas about what people don't like about it. Like what, Super Duper, what do you not like about it specifically?
I don't care for the Alicia Keys singing on it. Mm-hmm. I don't really like the Jay-Z, like the way Jay-Z sound on it.
Lights is blinded, girls need blinded.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of the Jay-Z flow on it like that either. It's a corny track. I wouldn't put it on the top. For me, it's not a top 20 Jay-Z song at all.
Oh no.
Not top 20, nah. But I know that if anybody tried to make that song, they would. You wouldn't be able to do it. It's too many.
It's too cliche. I think anybody can make that song, Leroy. Like really.
A person wouldn't be able to make that.
The Jay-Z version, the Jadakiss version, the Jadakiss version of that song would have been better.
Again, like we got to go out there. Not everybody go out there, pick the perfect beat with the perfect hook, and it's not for us. I think we're thinking Empire State of Mind is for the hardcore hip hop head. It's not for us, guys. So if you don't like it, that makes sense. Like, it's not for us. He's talking about people that have dreams of going to New York from other places. So they could be in middle America. I dream of going to New York. Just like people, I dream of going to Los Angeles. So it's enticing to them. That's all. You know what I mean?
It's the Jay-Z Frank Sinatra version of New York, New York. Who sang that? Who sang the old classic song?
I think that's what Jay was going for. I think he was going for the Frank Sinatra, New York, New York of hip hop. I mean, that's what it sounds like.
Yeah, but it's a corny song, man. I mean, I ain't mad at anybody that's not a real major fan of that song. You know, it's not one of Jay's strong sounds.
He talking about hustling on an anthem.
Man, listen, I just told you, Leroy, we don't want to hear you say Jay-Z no more. It's over.
Jay Short with the $20 super chat showing love. He said, I was listening to the second half of It Was Written, and for the first time I heard Raekwon's cadence and speech pattern. Nas wasn't talking that mafioso stuff on Illmatic. I'm starting to think the unthinkable, Mike. Well, I've always said that It Was Written is extremely influenced by Only Built for Cuban Links. Like the way Nas is flowing on It Was Written, and obviously Nas is an MC, but yeah, you can hear the influence of Ray specifically and Ghost. But again, he's on Only Built for Cuban Links. He has the best verse on Only Built for Cuban Links. He was around those sessions, so I could see how their style could possibly rub off. I mean, those guys were working together, so I don't think it's egregious that he was influenced by them because he was a part of the project. He probably influenced a lot of the stuff that they were doing on the project too.
I mean, we're from an era where everybody sounded different. So we're really used to that. But then I think there is a thing. We all have influences. And if I came out in 96, 97, I would probably have some mafioso rap. Just because how could I not? If I'm outside in 96, it's like everything is that. So, you know, what do you want me to go with?
I think y'all brought up a good point when you talk about like the Wu-Tang slang and like the slang that was out and the slick talk and the way that the gems was dropped. You know, they were still kicking knowledge in the songs, and they was able to like speak in code. And that's really when I say like these rappers of this generation, that's what they lack. They lack the slick talk. They lack the ability to speak in code and drop gems and like be with that creative talk. You know what I'm saying? Where it's almost like an inside thing. Like when you became a fan of Wu-Tang and you understood what they was talking about, it was almost like an inside. I don't want to say an inside joke, but it was like something that,
like inside,
you know,
that only we know about,
that only we knew about and understood. Even if we wasn't from New York, I'm sure New Yorkers understood it. But like people, you know, like I said, I'm from Milwaukee, and so when I got around somebody from Milwaukee that really liked Wu-Tang the way I liked it, and they understood where they was coming from, and they understood the slang, and they understood like how they was talking. They understood the gems that was dropped. They knew 5% of knowledge. They knew things that the masses outside of New York really wouldn't know. It felt special. You know what I'm saying? It did.
The impact that the 5% Nation has had on hip hop is so understated and underrated. And again, I think the slang and the principles of the culture and of the music mostly come from that, if we're going to be perfectly honest about it. Now, I will say this too, man. Like, that's one of the things that really drew me to Wu-Tang, to Mobb Deep, is the slang. And the fact that these guys were talking in ways that I had never heard anybody speak. And I'm like, okay, well, I got to figure out what this is about, what they talking about. And even if you think about what they was doing out west, even all the way down to Snoop doing like the fashizzle and all this shit, like everybody regionally in hip hop had the way that they were saying certain things. And we don't have those regional breakdowns anymore either. super duper, because I think the internet now, like everybody's from the same place. Everybody's speaking to the same audience. And it's not like, you know what I'm saying, you have your local scene where niggas is talking in a way that only the people in that local environment understand.
Yeah, and you know, it definitely it definitely made what we was listening to feel more personal and special. And that's the difference. You know, this cookie cutter rap, everybody know what the slang that they're using because it's popular and it's trendy. So
Right.
like it's easy. I guess it's easier to understand for the masses, but it's kind of watering down the culture of hip hop. You know what I'm saying? Like it's really it's because everybody want to be from the same place. Everybody want to be from Atlanta, or everybody want to be from this regional, worldwide, global coast when people had pride in where they was from.
And you know, I hate to get back on this, man, but I think, man, we are starting to actually, and I've been accused of this too, we're starting to give passes for ghostwriting. And I think that takes a lot of that away as well. Like, how can you even present your individual slang, your individual perspective,
right,
when we don't even know if you wrote the stuff? Like, I'm sitting here reading these, you know, excerpts, and I'm reading these articles, you know, for Drake, and I'm like,
now to be fair, I see you, Esquire. But to be fair, though, if you're in these labels right now, or a few years ago, they're going to play the Migos, and they're playing the Migos, and you're seeing the Migos have all the success, and you're seeing Drake, and you're seeing these different people using that type of flow, and they're having all the success. Your mind is going to be like, when they pass you those records, you're going to be busy. I mean, it is weak. It's what we came up on, but the game now is about expanding your audience as wide as possible. So you got to jump to Atlanta, then jump to LA, do something, then jump to the Bay, do something that's upbeat and knifey, jump to New York and do something Griselda-ish. It's about adapting sounds instead of creating your own.
But that's watering the game down. And you know what else?
I think Jay-Z did a lot of that.
You know what else we really are starting to accept too, and it's been going on for probably the last 10, at least 15 years, is biting. Because like how many clones are there of an artist that has a specific sound or a specific way to rap? And it's so many artists. One of the top places where I would say that biting is like it's stunting the growth is Detroit. When you listen to a lot of Detroit rappers, nobody can blow up because everybody's stepping on each other's toes and they biting each other's style. Like everybody sounds so similar that it's hard to separate who's actually the best. And you know, back in our day, it would have been beef if you was biting. You know, and a lot of the biting really started with Lil Wayne and Kanye. You know, like it's a lot of Lil Wayne clones that's out here. Lil Wayne developed a lot of these guys' styles and they started to run with it and they changed it up one way or another, or even the look. So it's watering down the originality of rap, even though it's a global thing, but it's actually that's part of the problem. That people should actually have a problem.
Esquire. I see you in the room, Esquire. I don't mean to cut you off, but I do want to piggyback on that. What do y'all think about, you know, the fact that this like Blueface's style, and I call it like the Sugar Free style, because Sugar Free is the first person I heard rhyming like that. But Blueface's flow, there's a lot of young cats who are rhyming like that, and I feel like the Kendrick Lamar record, They Not Like Us, takes on that flow. Now, with so many people, and a lot of people in Detroit are rhyming like that too. When you said Detroit, it made me think about Blueface. A lot of people are rhyming with that style. Do you think that that's just a new way to rap, or is that just biting?
Hey, and honestly, too, before y'all cook on this, Kendrick used the Sada Baby flow on there too. If you know who Sada Baby is, he used the Sada Baby flow on there.
See that?
Esquire, what you got, man? What's up with you?
Man, what's going on, man? I feel like I'm late to the conversation. I heard the tail end of what y'all were talking about biting in hip hop and then the regional shift toward what they're doing in Detroit and out in Cali.
Yep.
I mean, first and foremost, as it relates to that, you know, I think that's something that happens in every era. I think the originality in hip hop has been watered down for a long time, and right now that's just the wave. It seems like it's been the wave for the last few years. And you're right, Kendrick did kind of incorporate a little bit of that sugar-free. Shout out to Super Duper for acknowledging Sada Baby, man. Sada Baby is killing it in the South, man, and a lot of people don't know much about Sada Baby. I really, not to shift gears too much, man. You know, I love Wu-Tang. I love the Wu-Talk. I just hit Ron and told him I love the Wu-Talk. So I'd be remiss if I didn't give my top 5 Wu albums before I let y'all cook on this topic. I hate to be all.
No, go for it.
You go.
All right, man. So I think it's no surprise what we got is number 1. It's the top 5, maybe top 3 rap album all time in Purple Tape, man. It's literally a perfect album, perfect beats, perfect rhymes. Just incredible. It's an album I can listen to over and over and never get tired of it, man. I mean, Knuckleheads, Incarcerated, Scarfaces, even the songs that people don't like on it or like less, like Wisdom Body. I mean, it's just an incredible album front to back, and it tells a story, man. It's an incredible album. Set the Mafioso genre on fire. Number 2, I'm probably going to go Liquid Swords. I thought it was interesting to hear Leroy talk about Tikal 2000, and especially to have it over Liquid Swords, but I understand, you know, albums impact people different ways. Liquid Swords, although that album is before my time, I have older siblings that both grew up in the 80s and 90s, so it's like I was kind of living the music vicariously through them, and that was one of the albums that really got me deeply into lyricism, man. I'm on a mission that niggas think is impossible, but when I swing my swords, they all choppable. I beat a body dropper, the heartbeat stop. I mean, it's just bar after bar after bar, man. It's basic instructions before leaving Earth. Man, it's just an incredible album, man, front to back. Jizza is literally the genius of you know, they say he's the head, making form like Voltron. Love the album. I can listen to that album and never get tired of it. Number 3, I used to be one of those people that would always pick Iron Man over Supreme Clientele. Even though I've always loved Ghostface, I just felt like I used to feel like Supreme Clientele was so abstract. But over the years, man, it's just like the album just continues to age better and better year after year. And anybody that knows me on a personal level knows I'm like a huge vinyl collector. I got like 500 plus vinyl. And that is the one album that anybody out there can find that for me for $50 or less. Please hit me immediately. Love Supreme.
Take a look. I'll look for you.
One of the illest songs ever. Mighty Healthy. Churches La Ghost. I mean, the only reason why I would put an album like Liquid Swords over Supreme Clientele, I think they're both really close, is that Supreme Clientele has a lot of skits on it. That's not a knock. I think the skits are amazing and they add to the cohesiveness. But nonetheless, we splitting hairs when we talk about, you know, because I'll talking about these albums. These are all classics at this point in time.
Right.
Number 4, I'm going to say Iron Man. I think Ghostface, you know, he said that that's an album that he really regrets because, you know, especially coming off of the heels of the Purple Tape, and that was really when he started heating up. But that's really crazy, and it speaks a lot to your talent when you don't even really love an album. And I get it. Some of it is because of what he was dealing with in his personal life with, you know, him learning about, you know, his diabetes and, you know, him going back to Ohio to record it. But it says a lot about your talent when an album that you don't really personally love is still an all-time classic, man. Daytona 500. What is it? Room 260. 4L. I heard they got O's for sale, man. Wildflower. That's just a crazy way to start an album. My favorite Raekwon verse of all time is on that album with Faster Blade, man. Like that verse is, if I ever had to introduce anybody to Raekwon and say he's one of the greatest rappers of all time, that's the verse I play for him. So love that album. Love everything about it, man. Number 5, I'm probably gonna go Return to the 36. You know, Mike, you said it earlier. A lot of times it's like what they call the jockeys of the group, if you will, for lack of a better way to put it. They tend to be the heart of the group a lot of times. You said the same thing about, you know, Flavor Flav with Public Enemy, and that's exactly how I feel about Old Dirty. I mean, that album is just a fun album to listen to. It can be a little disturbing when you listen to certain parts of it if you're not really on that vibe, but it's a crazy album. You know, people a lot of times talk about the Chipmunk Soul sample. Who was the first to do it? Was it Kanye? Was it Just Blaze? I will submit that I think the first masterfully done high-pitched soul sample that you ever hear in hip-hop on a mass level is on that album, and it's on the Snake song. Go back and listen to Snakes on that record. Listen to the sample breakdown on it, man. That's an incredible album, and I know I'm cheating a little bit, but my honorable mention, this is probably gonna throw some people for a loop. I was telling one of my close friends who owns a record shop here in Jackson. Only Built for Cuban Links Part 2 is one of the most underrated sequels and really just Wu-Tang albums, period. You know how hard it is? This is true in movies, music, anything. You know how hard it is to deliver a great sequel to a classic, let alone a sequel that came out 14 years later? Man, that is an incredible album, man. Cold Outside, Catalina, New Woo, man, it's Jihad, man, it's just banger after banger on that album. I was so happy and so pleased when I heard it when it came out because I was really worried that it wasn't gonna live up to the hype. And you know, it's interesting that I bring it up now because you know, Ghostface is dropping his new album on Friday. It's not Supreme Clientele 2, but I follow Ghostface on Instagram. Somebody asked him, he said, "Hey man, does this mean we're not getting the SC2 no more?" And he responded to the comment and said, "Nah, this is just a prequel, basically. So we still getting Supreme Clientele 2. It's yet to be seen whether Kanye's still gonna executive produce it, but." Anyway, I'm off on a tangent, man. Only Built for Cuban Links 2 would be my honorable mention over to Cal. So love movement, love to talk, man. Sorry I had to kind of co-opt the conversation. I couldn't join without throwing my top
good, man. Let me get to the super chat real quick, man. That's a great list too. Jermaine Johnson with the super chat says a rap group where the 5th and 6th ranked and lesser famous MCs are better than 80% of the mainstream rappers is absolutely insane. Yeah, I mean, you put those guys in different regions and different cities, they're one of the top MCs in those cities. Michael Williams with the super chat says, if you were Doc, what would be your next move? The consensus is he won the war and not like us as the world in the chokehold. Would you drop again or claim the victory most people are giving you? I say, you know, you just fall back because this is my opinion. I think it's on Drake to respond at this point because he hadn't put out a record that even matches that. I think this is kind of a foregone conclusion at this point that Kendrick is the winner, but I think he should drop an album.
Drake responded already. Yeah, people told Kendrick he was the winner. So when you tell somebody they're the winner, they're not going to keep rapping because you just told them they're the winner.
Leroy, don't die on that sword.
I got an idea. I got an idea. If I was Drake, if I'm in OVO camp right now, I'm telling Drake, tap into a Memphis sound. Call up Juicy J, DJ Paul, get one of them Memphis beats, diss them, take it to Funk Flex, have Flex drop bombs on it, and go out like that. That's what I would do. That's what I would recommend.
I think he's the point, though. Stop. I think Drake is ready to rap now, though, because the last song we heard from Drake, it wasn't no theatrics, wasn't no hook, wasn't no trying to be cool. He was like, "No, let me talk to you."
It was garbage, though.
I think the Drake move at this point is to make albums.
I think he wants to rap now. I think,
man, worry about your security guard, man. Don't rap. Don't do nothing. Worry about who coming to shoot up your mansion. That's what he needs to do. Call it a day. It's over. The people, the public that spoke, it's over. He don't need to keep going back and forth with Kendrick. It's done. It's done.
DJ Bruce Almighty with the super chat says, truth be told, we've always gave passes for ghostwriting and we didn't hold them to a high standard. It's true. We have always given passes. The Raisin Head with the super chat says, listen to Ray's flow before It Ain't Hard to Tell. And then afterwards, it changed drastically after Nas came out. He wasn't that nice on 36. Mad Max with the super chat says, Lil Wayne had Drake writing for him. So how we know it was his style. Also, Wayne's was also biting Dipset and Gilly.
Let's say I want to be a pop artist. I want to be with pop artist appeal. Would you still be mad if I had Ghost? Now that's not what I'm saying. Assuming, would you still be mad if I had ghostwriters? And I'm telling you, I want to be hip hop.
Mad Max with the super chat says Ray and Nas both use G-Rap's flow. OFC, they related. The most regions keep they slang. Cali calls they guns doodoo poppies. We don't say that in NY.
Cali slang changes every month, man.
Hey, can I say this? Can I say this?
He's like, I got Supreme Clientele on vinyl for $250, and it was a steal. I love it, man. I love the value of Supreme Clientele. Go ahead, Super Duper.
I want to say this about our older rappers coming out with newer tracks because we need to stop pigeonholing them to that sound. Like I want to encourage newer rappers to rap over some of these newer style beats. Like, it's how many times we've been hearing like some of these beats, like the beats are really good right now. How many times we sit back and be like, man, Nas will kill that beat, or such and such Ghost will kill that beat. They don't need to be pigeonholed to that 90s sound and make boom bap to feel like they being true to themselves or being true to their fan base. It's nothing wrong with switching up, man. It's just music. So like when I heard, like, I'm only saying this because when I heard that Ghost and Nas, I was underwhelmed by the beat. And I heard, I seen that Ghost produced that album. He made the beat. But I'm not really extra excited to hear Nas and Primo, honestly. Like I would prefer to hear Nas rap over something newer and still, do the knowledge and do what he normally would do over some of these more modern beats. There's nothing wrong with our old rappers rapping over some of these more newer style beats, and even like the Griselda beats and some of this grimy stuff. Like I wouldn't mind hearing Ghostface over a Griselda beat. So like we need to
conductor to produce for Ghost. I mean, if we're gonna do it like that, shout out to
yeah. We don't have to pigeonhole them to a certain sound.
Right.
King Johnson with the super chat says Jizza made stop wearing sandals for Jizza made me stop wearing sandals for at least 15 years after he said that's the minimum and feminine like sandals on Liquid Swords album. Mad Max also said with the super chat says if I was Drake, I'd DM Mad Max because if I'm Drake, I would take Euphoria. I would take Euphoria. I hate you. Then take the Nas. You love my style, and just break down how Dot has been in love with Drake for his whole career.
Yeah, man. I don't think
Max. It's over.
I don't think we should destroy. You can beat someone without destroying them. Drake, he has he has some stuff that everybody likes. We can admit it.
All right, so before we get up out of here, man, what do you guys expect from this Ghostface album and Conway album on Friday? I'll start with you, Super Duper.
I mean, like I said, from that Nas and Ghost track, we didn't even talk about it all week because Kendrick man was doing their thing. But I thought it was a mid track. Honestly, Ghost sound like he dealing with an illness or something on there. Like his voice ain't right. And like I said, he in my top 5, so it's no slander there. But I'm not extra excited, and I'm not expecting anything major. I'm gonna let the album surprise me. I'm not like, I'm not expecting nothing major. Like I said before, I wish some of the old rappers would rap over some of these newer beats and just still do what they do normally anyway. Fit in with some of this newer style and this more modern styles of beats. Because it's over. If you want to appeal to these kids and you want to show these kids why you're nice, and it's not even about the kids either. It's just because we gonna like the music regardless.
Right.
It's nothing wrong with you guys rapping over more modern beats. You're not selling out because you rapping over a Metro beat or you rapping over a Conductor beat or whoever that's out here. You don't have to go back to Primo.
The next great hip hop producer because I think Master A struck gold with him and Polo working together. You know what I mean? Like Marco Polo. Like I think that when you get that fresh energy, and we've seen it with the Nas and Hit Boy thing, it's like when you get that fresh energy, you're gonna get fresh sound.
Yeah, that's true. And you're gonna be able to appeal to more fans. So let these young kids know that you nice like that. You know what I mean? Like a lot of these kids, they hear that sound and they don't even want to give the album a try, or they don't want to even hear it. And like I said, I understand that they're not trying to appeal to the younger people, but if the lyrics are nice, they got us anyway.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's a good feeling when you rap for a group of young people and they like, bro, you nice. You know what I mean? That's a good feeling.
I was hearing from a younger audience that a lot of them were introduced to Nas through this Hit Boy run, and I think that's a great thing.
That was a great move for Nas to modernize his sound.
Yeah.
And not be pigeonholed to to trying to make the primo beat or trying to stick in that lane of the boom bap era. Like let the beats, let the production, let this newer sound, you do your thing over it. Let them both go together. You know what I mean? Like we don't have to be stuck in the 90s. And you're not selling out. You're not selling out because you're getting with some of these newer, younger producers.
Esquire, what about yourself? I know you're getting some feedback since you're in the car. I think it's some wind or whatever. But yeah, I want you to go ahead and give your thoughts.
Yes. Sorry about that. I'm riding through the backwoods of Mississippi, man. But what I'll say is I'm excited about the Ghost. I kind of agree with Super Duper. I was slightly underwhelmed by the Nas and Ghost track just because the production sounded kind of outdated. I didn't realize Ghostface produced it, but now that you mention it, I'm not that surprised. But just as a lifelong fan of the Wu, man, I'm excited about it because I feel Nas, and not just Nas, but I feel like he's kind of a torchbearer for his generation, and he kind of reignited some of the legends from his era. And I'm excited to see what angle and what approach Ghost is taking on the album as a whole. To piggyback on what Super Duper said, I agree with you. I don't like for an artist to, especially our legendary artists, to pigeonhole themselves to, what they see as a nostalgic kind of 90s sound. I feel like it's kind of formulaic to do that. But at the same time, I think if you're going to try to modernize your sound, it can't be forced. I think where Nas and Hit Boy struck gold was that they bridged the gap between the generations. You had a little bit of the old school vibe, you know what I'm saying, with songs like Thun, obviously what they did on the Magic album. But then they also kind of modernized it with beats like Legit that made it sound fresh. And then you had more banger-oriented records like 27 Summers and 30. So I want it to be fun and I want it to be organic. I don't want it to be because I feel like that can be formulaic too if you try too hard to pander to the new generation. But overall, man, I'm excited about the Ghost album just because our legends back outside, man. One thing that I will say, as far as and I'm gonna pass the mic after this. One thing I will say is, we've been talking about the Nas and Primo album for a really long time, and you still got some fans getting greedy that want the Nas and AZ record. I got just a thought to leave everybody with. Would you rather hear Nas and Primo in a fresh bag doing stuff that they're making right now in real time, or would you rather hear some? And I don't mean like Lost Tapes 2, Lost Vault material. I'm talking about like great material that's just been locked away in a vault and it's never been released just because of label politics. There might just be some hidden gems that would have been great classic records if they came out, in both of their primes. I think that'll be interesting to see. Are they going to create fresh material, or is it also going to include some records that were just gems that never saw the light of day? So that's my 2 cents on that.
I like
one last thing before Leroy go too. Primo don't got a scratch on every beat. You don't have to scratch every beat that you make. Like, you know what I mean? Like he can, I understand that that's your sound and that's how you want to do it, but you let the beat ride, man. You don't have to put the scratching in every time. How many times you gonna make a song saying Nas in it? He done that so many different times. Like really, like he don't have to continue on for us to appreciate the music. Change up your sound. Get an intern. Get a understudy. Do something else really with it. So it's not like, because like I said, I'm not anticipating it based on it being Primo. You know what I'm saying? Like I feel like it could be a letdown because of Primo.
Let me get to the super chat and I'm gonna let you go, Leroy. Mad Max of the super chat says, let's be for real. Doc can't even exist if Drake doesn't. He's just a bitter hater who's been using Drake to make a career. Drake has his pick was Dot on the wall. I'm sorry. Drake was his pick on Dot's wall when he cooked up. Man, dropped 4 joints because of Drake.
Crazy.
He's got some big records now too, and you know what? The numbers are doing what the numbers are doing, but Drake and his team, I don't even want to say spin it, but the reality is Euphoria is doing the numbers that it's doing because of who it's about. And you can take that however you want to take it, but it still says something about Kendrick and what he executed on too. So
yeah,
man, Max being a sore loser right now.
He said Mad Max being a sore loser right now.
Yeah, man. Drake lost. Let's keep it moving.
I mean, for me, when it comes to Conway, Ghost, and Nas, I just want everybody to get in a creative bag. Like, get in a creative bag. I started off the show talking about breaking patterns. Let's break patterns and let's just go a different way. Let's go left and see what happens. Because either way it goes, Nas is a talented rapper. Ghost is a talented rapper. Conway talented. So either way it goes, you're not gonna sound crazy. You're still gonna be you. So, and you're dope. So why not just break the patterns? Let's just go super creative and see what happens. Now, when it comes to Primo, though, like Primo, that's my favorite producer. So my mind is already blown. I ain't even heard it. Now, yes, he could mess it up, or he could have been waiting for this moment for 20 years and been saving gems, you know, or he could really show out because he might get in his bag like that beat with Rome Streets and West Side Gun that he did. He got in a crazy bag. With Primo, I think people are comparing him to other boom bap, and I'm not mad at that because it makes sense. It's boom bap, right? But Primo has a particular formula that when I hear it, it just sends me back to the golden era. But that's what I'm on. I mean, Conway and Ghost don't have to do that. They can modernize their sound, and that is what I would prefer. But when it comes to Primo, it's a certain it's like he has a samurai katana when he's chopping, and I don't hear that from it's unique to me. You know what I mean? So.
Well, all right. Well, to speak on Primo, and I didn't even know we were going to get on Primo. I think that people like him and most producers in general, they got a stash of records that, you know, probably are unfinished, never seen the light of day. So I would imagine if you go to Primo and say, you know what, give me that 90s feel or something from a certain era, he probably got a stash of beats that he's never even used from that time period that he could revamp. We saw how he was able to revamp, you know, New York State of Mind and do part 2. I think I'm getting some feedback. Are you on mute, Esquire? Okay, cool. But yeah, so I think the Premier can either make something brand new or he could do something from a couple years back and he could give people what they want. But I think the problem with Premier and him collaborating with Nas is just that the expectations that people have are so unreasonable. We talked about unreasonable expectations for artists earlier. The expectations for these two guys are through the roof. Just like this is why we're never going to get a Dr. Dre and Snoop album. I know they talked about it and say we were going to get it. We're never going to get it because the expectation for those two guys is too much to deal with. That's why we're not getting a Detox. The expectations of the Chronic in 2001 and whatever's going to follow up that are just unreasonable. And I hope that Nas and Premier could just get in the studio and just get creative and be free-flowing like Nas and Hit Boy were. But the truth of the matter is they're human beings and they're hearing the outside noise and they're hearing everybody's expectations. And even if they did break ground on some new shit, would we even appreciate it for real? You know what I'm saying? So
I wouldn't trip on the outside noise. If I was Primo and Nas, I would say I'm already Primo and Nas. So
yeah, they have nothing to prove.
Get this work. Y'all gonna get this work. You know what I mean? I'm already Nas. I'm already Primo.
Shout out to Jar and Rap Roundtable. We said Mad Max don't want to hear about Wu right now. LOL. Yeah, man. I mean, look, we've talked about the whole Drake and Kendrick thing to nauseum. So we got to give props to the people putting out new music. And I'm looking forward to the Ghostface album because I want to hear where he's going to go with it creatively. Ghost has always been one of my favorites because he's creative with his sample choice, his flow, his stories, and just the way he approaches music. One of my favorite Ghost moments is on the Pretty Tony LP where he did Holla. And he literally got on the Shy Lights record and just rhymed on it. They didn't chop the sample, nothing. Like the nigga they played the song from beginning to end, and he just starts rapping. Like that's the stuff I look for in a Ghostface album. Like he's gonna recreate the wheel, or when they sampled the Good Times theme song, like shit like that. And he does things that you didn't really know were possible. And hopefully that's what we can get with this effort. I don't expect him to vocally sound like Supreme Clientele Ghost or even Pretty Tony Ghost. But I do I do look forward to seeing how he's going to approach this effort because I do like the lineup he has on here. Now, it's a little bit too many features for me as a Ghostface fan, but hey, we'll deal with it and see how it turns out. And Conway, anytime he drops, it's a possibility that there's an album of the year candidate here. So
Man,
I'm looking forward to hearing
this album, Mike. We're not counting this new Ghostface album because it has too many features. You didn't count Dynasty, okay? So we're not counting this Ghostface album. No.
I counted Dynasty and Jay solo catalog, but but when you put it up against somebody else's solo catalog, it's a little different.
At this point in the game, though, I don't mind a feature from the OGs. You know what I mean? Like I want the next Nas album to have more features on it, honestly.
Well,
like, we know
if we keep it real, this is kind of like when the Houston Rockets came together with Barkley, Pippen, and Olajuwon. The OGs need help. They need to help each other.
Yeah, they need to help each other. I wouldn't mind hearing Jadakiss with Nas. I wouldn't mind hearing the vets get together. You know what I mean? I wouldn't have mind hearing the Wu or Nas and Raekwon on the Hit Boy runs, on Magic, on any of them. I wouldn't have mind that at all.
Well, I think what we kind of got to on this show is that a lot of the Wu-Tang members, even though they're solo artists, they like to collaborate. And they're Wu-Tang members, and they're used to collaborating with each other. Method Man's a heavy collaborator. Ghost is a heavy with collaboration. Ray too. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's where they're at their strongest, and they want to kind of spread it around. So we'll see how it turns out, though.
I would have loved to hear a Thun remix with a Prodigy verse on it. That would have, I would have loved to hear that. You know what I mean? So
and shit, Havoc too.
Yeah.
Whole Queens. I thought Thun should have had a whole Queens remix with Cormega, 50, LL, everybody from Queens. Cool G Rap.
Imagine Cool G Rap on Thun. Damn, that would be crazy. All right, man. Like and subscribe, everybody, man. And make sure you check out Ghostface's new album that's dropping Friday, Conway the Machine, and Gunna too. We didn't even get to Gunna, but we're going to talk about these albums on Monday. And again, be on the lookout for a possible diss record, but I think it's over. I mean, I think we all can come to that conclusion that Kendrick's been victorious here. So with that being said, everybody have a good night. Go next. I want to see the next win. I like to see New York win.
Yes,
I ain't all right.
Salute, brother. Salute.
Oh, appreciate you guys.
Have a good night.
Hold it down.
Yes, sir.